that's huge. What we're seeing at Pallante has been awesome. When you talk about growth and being diligent with your work and seeing things through, think about a year or two ago, kind of where he was at and how the game would speed up on him. And then you take a game like today, and there's just a different presence to him. His demeanor and overall, the way he's taking the mound is different. There's a confidence to what he's doing, and it's been good.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. What a performance last night by Andre Pallante. Back-to-back starts by the Cardinals, Alex, in which their starter has gone at least 7 innings with 2 or fewer earned runs allowed. Do you know how many times that had happened this season prior to the last 36 hours, I guess?
How many times this season?
The Cardinal starters had gone at least 7 innings with 2 or fewer earned runs.
None.
Prior to the last 2 games.
None.
1. And now they've done it in back-to-back games.
Who did it?
It is the first, I think it was the last time that Dustin May was nearing a no-hitter, if I'm not mistaken. But the last time that the Cardinals had back-to-back starts, 7+ innings, 2 or fewer earned runs allowed, was early May of last year. The Cardinals actually had 4 consecutive starts in which their starters did that. Libby, Gray, Fetty, and Pallante did that in early May of last season. Haven't done it since in back-to-back starts since the last 2 nights. The starting rotation is finally giving you something of significance this year. And Andre Pallante, man, credit to him. Yeah. He has pitched his ass off this season. I don't think anybody was excited to watch Pallante this year. But the guy's been great. Since his bad start against the Red Sox on April 12th, he's thrown 61 innings. That's 11 starts. And has a 3.5 ERA, Alex. He's not walking anybody anymore. He actually has some pretty good strikeout stuff lately. He's nearly a strikeout per inning over his last 11 starts. How has this changed your perception of Andre Pallante, what we've seen from him for, man, about 2 months now?
Yeah, that this guy can be a part of your rotation. And I did not believe that was going to be a sentence that could come out of my mouth this season, because I believed he was going to be one that probably loses his job in the rotation just because of who he is. And I mean, last season, I think you saw it to where it's like, look, he's a pitch to contact. He's not going to be able to do much with the teams that he's going up against. So Pallante is just going to kind of fade into the mist. And that has not been the case at all. On top of Andre Pallante performing well, this also is another notch in the belt of the pitching staff for the Cardinals. Of what we talked about yesterday with Dustin May, of how other teams see it as a desirable destination. And Andre Pallante is going to be another one of those pieces to where it's like, look at what they did with Andre Pallante this season. They figured it out. They fixed whatever struggled for him last year. So Pallante, to me, was a guy that I thought would just be pushed out and you're looking for upgrades. Man, if he continues to pitch like this is at least a guy you keep until he becomes too expensive for you, because he's a perfect back end of the rotation starter. So credit to him, man. I didn't expect it. And Andre Pallante is now one of those guys that I feel comfortable with when he takes the mound.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's even gone better than just being a back end arm. I think he's mid-rotation arm, right? I think he's proven he can be a number 3 in a pretty good rotation, because the way he's pitching right now, like you said, I feel pretty confident when he takes him out. I don't know that I'm like a lock that you're going to win that game, but I think he's going to give you a fighting chance. And the fact that he's made the improvements from what was last year, where not only could he not get righties out, which had been a problem, he wasn't getting lefties out last year. And this year he's doing a very good job of not being too splitty. So it's impressive what they've been able to do with Andre Pallante. And though, yeah, he pitches to more contact than I like, I'm fine with that if you're going to be able to be a guy that can be like a 3.7 ERA that's going to be number 3 in a rotation.
Yeah, the biggest thing is like that slider has been working for him, and the sinker is back to an effective pitch. You combine those 2 things along with the knuckle curve, like he's just got a legit arsenal right now. He's getting swing and miss with his 2 breaking balls. The fastballs are actually playing well for him this season compared to what it was a year ago. I mean, he's just having a lot of success right now. And you look at some of the pitchers that are most similar to him, one of the closest comparisons is Framber Valdez in terms of the quality of the contact against, and that makes sense. He's getting a ton of ground balls, as he always has, and now that you're seeing some of the strikeout numbers pop up, the walk rate has gone down significantly this year, and that's maybe the biggest thing, is he's attacking in the zone, which allows his stuff to play more, and then he's got this great defense behind him. I wouldn't say it's like fun to watch. It's not the way that it was with Dustin May necessarily, but it's super effective. I mean, last night he had, a no-hitter through 4, I think, something like that.
Almost 5.
The guy's just been really, really good for you, and I don't think anybody was anticipating this. You look at some of the surprises that were necessary for the Cardinals to become what they have been so far this year. Pallante becoming this was a big part of that. Dustin May just being healthy and effective all season long has been a big part of that. Jordan Walker going from a guy that we're not even sure is going to be a starter after the trade deadline to a legit all-star representative and MVP consideration type of a player. Those would probably be my 3 biggest changes relative to what we were expecting this year. Would you guys throw anybody else into that mix? I guess JJ maybe would be a part of this as well.
I would put Weatherholt in there as a guy that would be rookie of the year. I know that people maybe thought that. I didn't know that was going to be realistic expectations for him, right? I would always caution, hey, Bobby Witt's a really good player. That guy finished below league average offensively. I would put him there. I think another one would be Church.
I was thinking.
Oh, interesting.
Because I argued with you before the season began that dude's just a 4th outfielder. That guy is not anything more than a replacement player that you'd put on for a getaway day. And now, man, he's overtaken the center field position from Victor Scott. And he looks like he belongs out there. So that's a really good one, T-Bone.
Yeah, that's why I thought of him, because I was kind of running through what the lineup was to begin the year. And you and I would talk about it, right? We didn't think Church was a guy that was going to be anybody that would, let alone be a 4th outfielder.
Yeah.
End up being a guy that would end up taking the job of Victor Scott. And then I think you can even add in, I don't think it's to as much of a degree as Church and the other guys we've mentioned, but I think you can put Blaze Jordan and Jimmy Crooks on this list right now, because they're
just
making
the Memphis Mafia, basically.
Yeah, they've made a huge impact for the bottom of the order.
Is that back, by the way? We're Memphis Mafia again?
I mean, more or less.
Oh, my God.
Right? That's pretty much what this is. The bottom half of your order is just a bunch of dudes that started the year in Memphis.
That was such a fun time when the Memphis Mafia was there.
Alan Craig.
Who's Daniel Descalzo? Fermin?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'd go with that. I mean, he's spent plenty of time in Memphis.
Brian Torres?
Oh, no, yeah, Torres is probably more.
Torres is probably, because Fermin started with the team.
Because Skip played a little bit in the outfield, right?
He wasn't a Memphis Mafia guy, though, was he? I don't think so, because it was Descalzo,
Yeah, I thought he was
Craig,
up there already.
Yeah.
Adams,
that's the other one. I couldn't remember.
That's probably more Blaze Jordan.
Yeah, you're right.
Craig, then?
You're right.
Crooks?
Joshua Baez when Baez comes up.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, buddy! Yeah, take that, BK! Woo!
Not 1, not 2,
Why'd you do the
not
chop at
3.
I only did 1 chop, though, so it's okay.
4 home runs for Joshua Baez last night.
108 miles an hour. I needed a cigarette and a sandwich. I put the cigarette in the sandwich for how good that
4
felt.
home runs would be a heater of a week. He did it in a night.
Out of curiosity, how long did it take Gorman to hit 4 home runs this year?
Oh, God.
A month.
I
a
hate
month.
7 on the season.
I hate to kick a guy when he's down.
Oh, no.
Come on, it's
no.
fun.
Back up the truck over it.
All right, let's see. Hold on, the internet's taking a while.
My computer just went black, so I don't know if you guys
mine
lost
did
internet.
too here for a minute, yeah.
I'm the only one with anything. I think
How
there was
did
a
you do
power
this?
surge of some
How did you
kind.
do this?
I don't know. The lights just went out.
Okay, cool. I lost internet in the middle of me looking at numbers, so can't really back up anything I say now.
Cool. Last thing that I wanted to get to from last night.
Also, don't know where we're going with this because I don't have a rundown anymore.
You're good, man. I'm glad I can be here
Lead
for
me
you.
where we're going.
Cardinals have repeatedly proven that they are every bit as good or better than the competition for the wild card consideration this year. You look at what they've done so far this year against the other teams that are kind of in this race, right? They have not yet played the Phillies, so take them out of consideration. But you've now won 4 out of 6 against the Padres. You've guaranteed your season series against them already, regardless of what happens today in the results. You took 2 out of 3 against the Cubs, 5 out of 7 against the Pirates, only 1 out of 3 against the Marlins, whatever. Hey, sometimes you have your off day. 3 out of 4 against the Reds. That means against these other teams that are currently contending for the NL wild card, you are 14-9. You add in the Nationals and what you did against them, they're technically still in the race as well. It's 16-10 overall against the other NL wild card consideration.
Did you say the
teams.
Cubs?
Yep.
Man.
2 out of 3 against the Cubs.
Well, I guess that's fair. Okay, you only have the 1.
16-10 overall against NL wild card teams. You add in some of the other teams that are currently in the playoff mix. You took 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers, 2 out of 3 against Tampa, 2 out of 3 against Cleveland, 2 out of 3 against the Athletics. Didn't go quite as well for you against Milwaukee. 1 out of 4 so far. Or against Seattle. Unfortunately got swept, but played well against them. This is a team that is every bit as good as these other playoff contenders, man. I know what the expectations were coming in. I frankly just do not care. the team has shown you time after time after time, this is a legit playoff contender.
Yeah, you've wiped away the competition. I mean, how do you evaluate if your team's a playoff team? Well, what did they do against the teams that are trying to fight for the same spot? And you just listed it off. I mean, if we're only talking about the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks as two teams that you haven't seen yet, and the Diamondbacks are starting to fade a little bit, I mean, I don't know how you look at them and say they can't be a playoff team. Now, we've already spoke yesterday about the month of July, and that's going to be the really telling month of who this Cardinals team is. But, you know, like just going through them, you not only wiped away the competition, but you kind of put the Mets in their grave. I think you kind of put the Reds in their grave because the Reds seem more and more like sellers as the season moves on. So, like, and even after this one with the Padres, I think the Padres are going to seriously be debating who they are and what they do moving forward because you lost the season series against the Cardinals.
And even if you don't, like, they're still in it, right? The Padres are a game back right now of a playoff spot. Even if you don't make them reconsider if they're contenders, you've won the season series, which means if there's a tie at the end of the year, you've got that tiebreaker.
I'm just
Put an
putting
extra game on them, essentially.
I'm just putting myself in the shoes of a Padres fan. Like, if I was the Padres this season and I believed my team could win, I'm looking at it going, no, I can't.
You can, but this offense is the thing that, to me, would do it. Like, I'm going to give full kudos to the Cardinals pitching over the last two nights. They deserve all the credit in the world. This Padres lineup sucks.
Right, but
I don't understand how it's this bad with the names that they have in it. But if you stripped away the names and like it's Joe Smith and Jim Miller
Kiley
over there, yeah, like
Tanner Hendrickson.
You would not think that this is a star-studded lineup. They stink.
Right,
None
but
of them strike fear in you.
And if I'm in the Dodgers division and I just lost the season series against the Cardinals, yeah, don't tell me I'm a team that could win the World Series. I'm a playoff team maybe, but I'm not a team that's going to go out there and start going gangbusters because I think I can win the World Series. So that's why, like,
they're just pot committed now. Like, there's
For
nothing,
sure.
they have to continue to push
and
because
AJ
what's
Preller,
the alternative?
And Preller only does one thing, and it's just throw prospects at players to make you better. But what I'm saying is the Cardinals have put teams into positions that second guess who they are, and that's a quality position to be in if you're the Cardinals.
Yeah, and like when I look at these teams that, I mean, BK read off the record for the Cardinals against them, I just see those teams and I go, man, I don't see anybody that's going to, I said this last week, and, you know, some people say I'm getting ahead of myself. I don't see anybody that's dethroning the Cardinals from the wild card spot. Now, will they maybe shuffle around a little bit in that top three? Sure. I mean, I think that's possible. But are there going to be three teams that end up being better than them in this group? I don't know. The eye test to me just says no. I mean, all these other teams have shown signs of inconsistency. And to the Cardinals' credit, anytime we start to have a question of, okay, maybe this is it, right? Like dropping 2 of 3 to the Mets and dropping 2 of 3 to the Twins and going 3-3 on that road trip, pretty disappointing. And they've rebounded and won the first 2 games against the Padres. Like, they're just more consistent than these other teams.
Every time they have a bad stretch, they bounce back. Yep. It's been the mantra all year. I remember coming off of that series against the Twins a couple of days ago. We were talking about this, and it was like, oh, man, this bullpen's a problem. Yeah, the month prior, they were awesome. They had a bad weekend. Move on. And that's basically what the Cardinals have done, and they've moved on by not using the bullpen over the last 2 days.
Smart.
Like, they've been getting great starting pitching. The offense has been contributing in every possible way. They've now scored 3 or more runs in, I think it's 12 consecutive games. Just a good baseball team. Well-rounded, do everything pretty darn well. Mason Wynn continues to just make ridiculous plays every night. It's just a really, really good baseball team right now. Cardinals back in action later on this afternoon. 1:15 first pitch between the Cardinals and the San Diego Padres.
29 games it took Gorman to get to 4 home runs this year. It took last night for Baez to hit 4.
About 3 hours.
Yeah, not even.
Not even. I think it was like 2 hours.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we got to talk about the player that the smoke on trade conversations just won't go away, especially as it pertains to the St. Louis Blues. We'll get into that in about 15 minutes. 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line for you to get involved in the show. You can also watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/101ESPN We apologize if you guys missed us there for a little bit. It sounds like the stream went down. So did Alex and T-Bone's computers.
My computer's still dead.
I think there was some kind of a power surge here. So we do apologize for any of the technical difficulties. I think everything should be back up and running at this point
Except
in time.
my computer.
Coming up next, will the Cardinals make the move with Joshua Baez sooner rather than later? Boy, his performance is certainly begging them to do so. We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK. So, Joshua Baez, this is ridiculous. 4 home runs last night, Alex. The numbers he's putting up, he's already got 20 home runs this season. They're absurd. He's one of the best power hitters in all of minor league baseball. Forget level, forget age, just all of minor league baseball. The guy is absolutely crushing it for the Memphis Redbirds. And now this is begging the question, is it time for the Cardinals to consider calling him up? Now, doing so is not as easy as just, yeah, of course you move him up. He's tearing the cover off the baseball down there. You get him into the lineup, he plays every day. Okay, sure, in theory, that's what you'd like to do. But there are some holes in his profile. He swings and misses a lot. He chases outside of the zone a lot. Even when he swings inside of the zone, he doesn't make contact as often as you would like to see. So there are questions about the profile. And then you look at, okay, where's he going to play? He's probably not an everyday center fielder long term. It's kind of similar to the Blaze Jordan conversation at third, where can he play it? Yeah. Do you really want that to be his future position? Probably not. Ultimately, the Gorman of it all was so bad that they decided to make the switch anyways. And Ramon Urias had the injury, so there were no alternatives. Blaze, it's your time. That same thing doesn't exist for the Cardinals right now in the outfield. They've got some pretty good options out there. But they might be able to upgrade from Joshua Baez. So with what he's done down at AAA, Alex, we saw this with Jimmy Crooks, got the opportunity. We saw this with Blaze Jordan, got the opportunity. Are we going to see the same with Joshua Baez sooner rather than later in your mind?
I mean, track record would tell you yes because of what you just laid out, right? Like every time somebody has struggled at the major league level, they've said, well, we've got somebody that's doing it better in the minors. We'll put him in this position. But that would be my retort to it. Who's struggling that you'd say, well, we're going to put Baez in that spot?
Exactly.
Because Nathan Church isn't struggling. I mean, look, if you're going off of what we always talk about, their actions are telling you what they're doing. Baez has played majority of his time down in the minors in the center field position.
Prior to Victor Scott getting sent down.
Understandable.
When Victor Scott or Nathan Church has been available in AAA, those guys have been starting in center.
Which also tells me, like, they're at that level, but they're looking at this as like, hey, Baez could play this position at least for us here.
I would say that tells you they don't have any alternatives at AAA.
Sure, but they want to see what it looks like. And if it looks fine in the minors, they might give it a shot at the major league level. Maybe. Is it the long-term answer? No, but I also would say, well, who is their long-term answer at the center field position? Maybe it's Baez. I don't think that's where they're at right now because they're, one, valuing defense that Nathan Church and Victor Scott provide, so you're not just going to lose that. But two, Church is hitting. So this is the part for me. I don't think Baez gets the shot until somebody starts to struggle. Because the one thing I would imagine they're looking at this with it is, yes, he's crushing the baseball in Memphis. But we want to make sure he's coming up here and he's playing every single day. And they found a way to do that with Jimmy Crooks. They found a way to do that with Blaze Jordan, with Nathan Church. I would imagine they're going to do the same thing with Joshua Baez. So for me right now, which I know is an unpopular opinion, because he hit 4 freaking home runs in one game, I think you wait. I think you let this thing continue to develop in Memphis until the position is needed for Joshua Baez at the major league level.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I am. I think this is different than what it was with Crooks and with Blaze, because I think you've got a pretty good answer right now in center field with Nathan Church. Yeah, is he below league average? Yeah, he's at a 94 OPS plus. That's passable, though, with his defense out there in center field, because, like, you look at the other scenarios where they did this, and I was skeptical they were going to do it at the time, right? I didn't think they would go Crooks over Baez.
It's the only reason why I'm not just flat out saying this isn't happening. Is because they've made these other changes. Yeah. Otherwise, like in the previous administration, I would have said, not happening. No chance.
I think the more like we look back on the Crooks decision, it is, okay, Crooks, I think, arguably been better defensively, if not right up there with Pedro Paez. So if that was going to be the answer, okay, well, yeah, I'm going to take the upside swing here with his bat. Pozo didn't really do much for you off the bench, so you weren't losing anything by sending him down. So I could see how you get to that spot. Now, with the Jordan decision, it was what Gorman was doing, right? Gorman was like 3 for 54. You can't keep throwing that out there. So, of course, maybe they would decide to do that. And they were waiting on Urias, right? I think we all agree in this room Urias was probably going to be the answer at third base till he got hurt again. And then it just threw everything into flux of, okay, well, we can't keep Gorman here, so we'll try it with Jordan. They don't have either of those scenarios right now because I think they're kind of – the way they've stacked this up, and I think you're seeing this by their actions, and they've also said this to us, is, hey, it is Nathan Church and Victor Scott are true center fielders, and then there is a clear tier break for everybody else in the organization. Now, where exactly is Baez in those tiers? I don't know that he's even there with Newbar. I think he's probably even below Newbar. And I think that's why you see him playing in left field when Church or Scott are in center field. So I think they're just going to keep riding this with Church in center. And I think if you put them on Truth Serum today, their answer is who's your long-term center fielder, they would probably lean Nathan Church. Or they would still potentially say Victor Scott II if they think he can figure it out at AAA.
The long-term answer is not currently in the organization.
Sure. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to stick this out with Church, and unless he goes through a Gorman-esque stretch, then maybe they would consider Baez. But I think you're a ways away from that conversation coming up.
I think there are ways to make it work. It's not super easy, and I'm not sure they want to get themselves into a situation where they have to maneuver this way, because right now they have ultimate flexibility, and this would change that. But I saw earlier today, Josh Jacobs over on Redbird Rants posted this. You can make it work, especially when Ivan Herrera is behind the plate. And the way you do it is on those days when Herrera is catching, you can put one of Lars Nootbaar or Joshua Baez at the designated hitter spot. The other starts in left field, and then you're still able to get Nathan Church in center field. So that on those days, it basically takes Jimmy Crooks out of the lineup. He is not a bat that you have at DH, and you've replaced him effectively with Joshua Baez. Especially against lefties, that makes a ton of sense. Against righties, there are some more questions there about, is Baez even a better option for you against righties than Jimmy Crooks? I don't know. There are legitimate questions to be asked there. So that's another consideration here. But that's only when Ivan Herrera is catching. When he's not, you need Herrera's bat as your designated hitter, which makes it a little tougher. And this means that one of Joshua Baez or Lars Nootbaar would have to replace Church in center field. Is that something they're looking to do right now? I don't think so. There may come a point in time where they say, hey, it's worth the potential upgrade offensively. We'll see what it looks like defensively. We've still got Nathan Church at the big league level. It's not as though he's going down. He can still be around. He could be a defensive replacement late in these games. And we've got the bat in there with Joshua Baez. Let's see what it looks like over the next month prior to the trade deadline. I could understand why they would make that move. If they did it tomorrow, I wouldn't even be opposed to it. I just think it's kind of risky, and I don't think it's something that's necessary right now, given the way that the lineup is currently producing, and you've got a better defender than Joshua Baez currently in center field. So it does not feel as necessary as it did with Gorman or as it did with Pajes. I don't see that same urgency here with Joshua Baez, but I get why people are excited about it. 4 home runs in a game is hard to ignore, and it's not as though it was a one-off. He's been doing this all season long, so it's tough. It's a tough spot to be in. It's a good spot to be in, a good problem to have if you're the Cardinals, but it is a legit question nonetheless.
Yeah, and I can understand the frustration from Cardinals fans because it's a high-profile prospect, and you want to see it at the major league level. But, man, you've got it great right now. Your offense is hitting 1 through 9. Your team is winning. They're in a great wild card spot. This is a good thing to have an entire roster performing and one of your top prospects also performing in the minor leagues. You don't have to have everything at once and say, we've got an awesome offense. Let's put the top prospect up here so he can play. Keep it as is. Everything's working for you right now. Keep the development on the track you want it to be.
The one thing that we are getting a lot of, and it makes sense that this would be something that is texted in, a lot of people saying, well, guys, the answer is obvious here. You trade Lars Nootbaar. And that opens up the spot for Joshua Baez. Why is there urgency to do so? He's been great since his return.
I think it's because you can get something of return in the fans' mind. And if you're looking to upgrade your pitching staff, you move a Lars Nootbaar to try and do what you did with Bader, to where you're trading the left fielder that is very good for you right now, but I don't know if he's a part of your future like Joshua Baez is. And to me, I told you guys this in the office, that's what a rebuilding team does. And you can have your qualms if they're rebuilding or not. I would imagine Chaim Bloom still has a mindset of look, long-term is our future here. Can you get a controllable asset for Lars Nootbaar and replace it with a guy that's everybody wants to see at the left field position?
Yeah, I just think that's something you consider in the offseason. If you're going to make that move, I would not need to do that until the offseason.
I agree with you there.
Right now, Lars Nootbaar is batting .270, and he's got an OPS of .865 since his return. He's been great.
Yeah.
There's just no need to trade that guy. He is producing the way that you hope Joshua Baez produces. And the odds are Joshua Baez will probably be worse upon his arrival at the major league level than what we have seen so far in left field.
I don't trust you
from
anymore.
Lars
You
Nootbaar.
said that about Crooks, you said that about Blaze, and now look at us.
Yeah, I did not say that offensively about Blaze. I said his question is defensively.
He's fine.
He's been fine so far.
Except the one
Full
diving
credit
play.
to him. He's mostly been just fine over there, and he makes all the plays that are needed. The reports were, this is not a long-term third baseman, and I still think he's probably not. But whatever, it's working for you right now, and Gorman was too bad to make it continue to work offensively. So that one I didn't have as much of an issue with. I said it on the air the day they made the move. I would go make the aggressive move and switch somebody. Even if it was Jose Fermin, you just could not keep going to Nolan Gorman there. Behind the plate, I was just shocked that they did it.
I think all of us
would
were.
surprise the hell out of me. I got nothing for you. I think it was the right move, clearly, but it surprised the hell out of me that they were willing to make it. This one I just view as unnecessary. Now, if you make it with Church, that I get. I understand if they decide, hey, we're comfortable with one of Newt or Baez in center field, we're good with the downgrade defensively for the potential upgrade offensively. Cool.
And
I'm open to it.
If you could make Baez the long-term center field option, you're feeling great about your organization because now it's a hole that they don't have an internal replacement.
No doubt. The reports seem to indicate that's not likely. It's going to take a lot of time for him to really translate out there in center field, and the odds are he probably never will. He's more of a corner guy.
Can you do that in the offseason, though? Like, can you adjust him and work with him to be a center fielder for you?
Some guys just aren't center fielders based upon their athletic profile, and that's okay.
But some guys aren't corner outfielders based off of the position they go through the minor league system with, but the Cardinals still see it differently.
But that was about his uncomfortability. You're talking about Jordan Walker, I'm assuming.
Or Wilson Contreras or Reynel Rodriguez. I mean, wherever you want to go with this, guys, it's fine.
Walker was not about his inability to play based upon his athletic profile. His was, I've never played this position. What the hell do I do with a ball that is going in the air? Like, what am I supposed to do here? How do I track this thing? And so that was about inexperience. This is not about inexperience for Joshua Baez. It's about, can his body actually do the things that are required from a center fielder defensively? I don't know. The Cardinals seem to be suggesting, based upon everything that I've seen and heard, the answer is no.
Yeah.
They said the same thing, though, about Blaze Jordan, and he's your starting third baseman every day right now. So right now I'm open to the possibility, and as bad as playing is such that I get it if they decide to go that route, but if we operate under the assumption he's not a center fielder, it's hard for me to see how he gets up here in the near future. And I just would not make a move with Lars Nootbaar in order to open up that spot. I would be more likely to play one of them in center field if I'm going to have either of them up here.
Baez is your center fielder today for the Memphis Redbirds.
Is Victor Scott playing?
He's not.
There you go. That's why.
I was going to say, I wouldn't read too much into that.
I'll read a lot into it, Tanner.
No.
Cesar Preto's your third baseman. He's your next third baseman. Gorman's not in the lineup.
He hasn't been in the lineup yet.
He's doing the thing that they've been doing, which is get away from the field. We're going to work with you in the cage, and then we'll see how it works whenever we get back.
JC, it's short.
That's where they've been playing.
Yeah, has it been?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they clearly view him as
I think he's the utility.
Utility / clearly they think backup shortstop would be what his role would be at the major league level. That's what you can read into them putting him there basically every game.
I'll read into it however I damn well please.
I'm going to tell you how to read into it, okay?
You don't tell me what to do. I do it.
No. Who's the DH today?
This is Ferrario and
Who's
BK.
the DH today?
This is Ferrario and BK. Actually, I didn't even look at that.
Do you guys think Joshua Baez will be up before the 4th of July?
No.
I don't think he'll be up until after the deadline.
Okay.
I'm not sure he'll be up after the deadline either, but I definitely don't think he'll be up by
injury.
July 4th.
Injury changes things, of course, but
I do think he'd be the first call up if somebody goes down in the outfield, and I agree with that.
And I think if this team's meshing well and winning baseball games, you're really not going to bring them up in the month of July when you're taking on that talented of a roster.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort
Josh,
Service text line.
We got Milwaukee for
questions
5.
and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in on the Air Comfort Service text line or the YouTube chat at youtube.com/101ESPN STL. Coming up next, there's one player that seems to continue to be discussed in trade negotiations this offseason. It's a player who makes a lot of sense for the Blues. Are we ready to discuss the possibility of him being a future St. Louis Blue? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here. The Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals took down the Padres last night 3-2, and they go for the sweep later on this afternoon. 1:15 will be first pitch. Padres will go with an opener today. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So there's one name, Alex, that seems to be getting a whole hell of a lot of smoke when it comes to trade talks, and it's the early portion of the offseason in the NHL. According to Kevin Weeks, a name that's getting plenty of attention is Mason McTavish of the Anaheim Ducks. Quote, he's got skill, grit, term, and upside. Teams are calling it would have to be a hockey trade of quality, I'm told. We'll see how this goes. Again, that's based upon a tweet from Kevin Weeks of ESPN and ESPN.com. We've talked a lot about Mason McTavish as a potential trade target for the St. Louis Blues. Former first-round selection, big forward, terrible defensively. I mean, truly awful defensively when it comes to his numbers. Decent on the face-off dot, though, Alex, and a really solid overall producer so far in his NHL career. Consistently around 15 to 20 goals, like 40 to 50 points. Is this the kind of player, also has term on his deal, I get like $6.5 million per year, $7 million per year.
Yeah, 7.
Is this a player that you think the Blues should be targeting? Not just interested in, but legitimately targeting and circling as an off-season trade target?
I can't say definitively yes or no because they would know something more than I would. I can only go off of what I see from him when I watch him play. I don't think I would target this. I don't think this is a long-term answer at the center position. You don't have a bad defensive player as a guy that you turn to as your second best center. Like, you have to be great defensively to be a center, in my opinion, because you are the one responsible for everybody when you're on the ice in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone, and specifically in the defensive zone. And if you look at his numbers, he's not great defensively. Now, I will say the connection to the Blues makes sense because Greg Cronin coached there, and if you look at how bad Mason McTavish was the year prior to Cronin and Cronin's first year versus Cronin's second year, he went from a -23 to a even. That's impressive. And then last season, he went to a -15 again. I just personally believe Mason McTavish is probably best suited as a winger. And I don't believe the Blues should target another wing. I think that's the position they're set on. I think you need a clear-cut upgrade at the center position. So unless they see something, and I totally get a change of scenery could make a world of difference, and this guy in a bad situation has put up 50 points, I just don't think he's a center long-term, which tells me if I'm committing to a guy for the next 6 years at $7 million, man, you better be my number 2 center moving forward. So I would not target this.
I don't see the need to do the money thing just because, like, if I've got my middle 6 centers making a combined $10 million for the next 2 or 3 years, which is what it would be between he and Dalibor Dvorsky, that's fine. I don't care who slots in as the 2 and who's the 3. I just care that between the 2 of them, I've got a number 2 and a number 3 center. And if you've got down the middle, Robert Thomas, Mason McTavish, and Dalibor Dvorsky in one order or another, that's a pretty significant upgrade from where you're at right now. I don't know who currently their middle 6 center is. Is it Booch? Is it
my guess is
somebody not currently on the roster? They didn't really seem super interested in putting Pius Suter at the center position last year.
Could be Dylan Dubé if they re-sign the guy. Could be your third-line center.
Maybe he's your fourth-line center going into next year.
I think that's going to be Finley. And then Dubé could get the third-line opportunity, at least at the start.
I would be very interested in Mason McTavish. I think he makes a ton of sense for this team. If you're telling me, hey, BK, you can write in pen a 20-goal producer who's going to put up 40 to 50 points next year, and he's going to be playing on a line with, like, Jake Neighbors, and who do you think the right winger would be in that scenario? Kyrou, maybe? Carbonneau by the end of the year? That is something that I'm highly interested in finding out how it would look for you on the third line. A few young players. I like it. I would be very interested in Mason McTavish. Yeah. Is it the ideal answer? No, but there are no ideal answers for you at the center position going into this offseason. I don't think they exist.
I think I would be targeting other centers this offseason. Like, I would be calling up Ottawa. Ottawa apparently is in the news now because they're looking for help on the defensive side and a better winger, and they've got 4 centers right now in terms of Stützle, Cousins, Shane Pinto, and Ridley Grieg. And if you look at the ice time, like, Grieg started to play a lot more than some of those other guys. I would be calling Buffalo to see if there's any interest in moving Josh Norris or Ryan McLeod. I would be calling Seattle, and I would be checking in on Shane Wright. I would personally rather play Wright over Mason McTavish in terms of cost and upside because of the natural position, the center spot. And I think Shane Wright's better defensively. And if you look at it, Shane Wright last season, not this past one, but the year prior, he put up 44 points playing about 13 and a half minutes. That's 8 fewer points than Mason McTavish, who played 3.5 more minutes than Shane Wright. So I would be looking elsewhere before I would turn to Mason McTavish. I'm not writing him off completely because I would trust the coaching staff to say, yeah, this guy's good and we can get him better. I do believe in change of sceneries. I also believe that if a coach with like a pedigree of Joel Quenneville doesn't see him as a valuable commodity in a playoff push, I don't know how much I would value that for my team.
He didn't this year. Could that change at some point in the next couple of seasons? He's only 23 years old. We've seen this before where young players,
absolutely,
it takes some time to be able to translate to a playoff kind of an atmosphere. By the way, it's also worth noting, he was a positive in their playoff appearances. I think he played 10 games and was like a +1 in those 10 games for Anaheim in the postseason. So it's not as though he's a complete liability when he's been on the ice. He just wasn't somebody that fit into their lineup for whatever reason. And maybe he didn't fit into their plans for the here and now. I'm interested. If they could end up getting for the same kind of a price in terms of what they're giving up, Shane Pinto, yeah, I would rather have Shane Pinto. If they could go get for the same price in terms of prospect pedigree, whatever it is, Shane Wright, I'm interested in that as well. I just am not sure how much the price is going to be for those players compared to Mason McTavish, who I think they're selling low on right now.
I think they're going to ask for a lot. Like, his name's out there, but I think they're looking at this the same way Blues are looking at Kyrou. We're interested in moving him, but it's going to be for a steep price. Otherwise, we'll run it back.
Wouldn't you say the same is true for Ottawa or for Seattle?
Seattle, no. I still think it's a good price. I don't think it's a steep price. Ottawa, yes. But I'm only targeting Ottawa because you've got 2 commodities that they would want in terms of a scoring winger and a right-shot defenseman, and they've got 3 centers that, I mean, yes, you want centers, but you're not playing a guy who's making $7 million on your 4th line.
What do you think a realistic trade package would look like for Shane Pinto? Like, what are we talking about here?
Kyrou plus a first-round pick, probably 29.
I'd probably do something like that.
Yeah, and even if it would be a Parayko, because I know they want a right-shot defenseman. Now, all of this is pending.
Parayko plus 29.
All this is pending as those guys agreeing to go to Ottawa, which I don't think they would do. But even Shane...
That's the other part of this, is that's a huge piece of the conversation.
But even look past Shane Pinto. Like, Dylan Cousins is another guy that put up the same amount of points as Mason McTavish last year, and I think is a better defensive center. So there's just other guys that I think are
all of those guys are interesting. But if
I think you're paying the same steep price.
If Kyrou says no, and Parayko says no, and that's what gets the conversation started with Ottawa, then you have to cross them off the list.
Yeah.
Like, there's no other way that you can make the deal, and so suddenly, okay, that's written off. And then if Seattle calls, and Kyrou has already stated, I'm not going to Seattle, and they say, hey, for whatever reason, we're not interested in Colton Parayko, well, then now we're talking about giving up prospects capital for Shane Wright. And I don't know if that's going to be something that the Blues are interested either, so then you might have to cross that option off of the list. And this is how you end up going back and circling back on, okay, well, given the player, given the pedigree, given the contracts, given the age, and given what we can give up in this deal, which is maybe one of Parayko or Kyrou, this is the one that makes the most sense for the St. Louis Blues. And I think that's how you get yourself into a spot where McTavish does become the best option possible for the St. Louis Blues.
And that's why I'm not crossing him off, because now that you've got Cronin on the staff and McTavish played probably his best hockey under Cronin, they may look at this and say there's an upside here. If I were to present 2 packages to you, though, one is Mason McTavish for one of Kyrou or Parayko, or you're giving up a 1st and a 3rd round pick for Maverick Bourque, which one would you go with?
So give me the scenarios
So
again.
you're trading either Kyrie or Parayko, whomever Anaheim wants, and you're getting Mason McTavish. It's a one-for-one deal. You're not putting picks with it or anything. Or I'm going to Dallas and I'm offer sheeting Maverick Bork for, let's say, $5 million, and I'm giving up my first and my third for next year.
I'd be open to either of those, just as the honest answer. I like whatever they deem as the better deal of the two. I would trust their judgment here. They have more information on the players. But from my perspective, I think the size of Mason McTavish would be what appeals to me.
And see, I think I would lean more towards Bork, because then I could still use my other commodities in other packages if I can find an acceptable trade. I'm not so much concerned about the size as I'm concerned about the will to win pucks. And I don't know if McTavish, now I don't know if Bork has that, because I've only seen a small sample size. I don't know if McTavish has that push to win puck battles to the degree that Jim Montgomery wants his players to do.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. We'll talk more about the St. Louis Blues with Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues, coming up in the 12 o'clock hour. He told Alex, as they were texting earlier today, he's got a name that he wants to throw our way that maybe makes even more sense for the St. Louis Blues. So we'll get into that with him in the 12 o'clock hour. But coming up next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers on BK and Ferrario.
So I was having a conversation with my cousin over the weekend, and he is purchasing his first home. And he was telling me, he's like, look, the only thing we're worried about is it's got a 27-year-old HVAC system. And I told him, I said, first off, that's old. Second, call Classic Air Care to come out and take a look at it, because right now there's financing options available for you. And it's still prior to that summer frenzy where people are buying everything and it gets super expensive because of the heat and you get backed up by so much. I said, call Classic Air Care, because when we did this a couple of years ago, we had them come out, we had them check out the unit that needed to be upgraded at our home. But what was great about it is the technician that came out, who had like 30 plus years of experience, walked around, he kind of looked through things, found a couple of different areas that didn't need to be upgraded, so we saved some money there, but was able to get in, get out, and have us with a new HVAC system over the weekend. So this is what Classic Air Care provides. Technicians who have been doing this for 30 plus years. You get incredible customer service, 5-star service, to where they've got 100 vans out on the road, which means they're going to get to you within 24 hours. So you can call them today. You can schedule online if you're looking for a new HVAC system. You can get a price on their website for what it would cost, or you could schedule your maintenance agreement. Just do me a favor. Tell them Alex Ferrario sent you. Classic Air Care and ClassicAirCare.com.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show for questions and answers. From the 618, seems like ever since we let O'Reilly left, we've been looking for his production. I think the Blues moved on from him because of age and performance that year, but do you think the Blues made a mistake at the time? Sounds like he would have been a solid number 2 or 3 center for the Blues. Thanks.
I mean,
looking back, yeah.
Yeah, you got a first-round pick for him, and we don't know what Stenberg is going to become, and that's essentially who you drafted with the O'Reilly one. But, yeah, I've said this all along. You made the mistake because you replaced Ryan O'Reilly with Kevin Hayes when you could have just kept Ryan O'Reilly at Kevin Hayes' price. But you needed assets. You went and got a first-round pick, which is fine for the here and now. I still would have re-signed Ryan O'Reilly even after you traded them for the first-round pick.
Thought it was the right move at the time. It's gone poorly.
Yeah.
But you still could have signed him that offseason.
I know, and I agreed with moving on. I thought it was time. The team had not played well. They needed a new leadership core. It was time to turn the page on that Stanley Cup core, in my opinion. And it's gone really poorly. Yeah. They replaced him with Kevin Hayes. That couldn't have gone any worse. They're still looking for a middle six center, and a guy that would make a ton of sense right now in that role is Ryan O'Reilly at that specific salary slot. Yeah. So, yes, it absolutely has aged poorly. I agreed with the decision at the time.
Yeah, and I agree with it at the time, too, because it did look like age was going to catch up to him. Now, it turned out when you put a fourth liner on his wing, Josh Levo, then that's what led to the dip in his production.
He's still slow, by the way. Like, he is not fleet of foot with Nashville, but he makes up for it by how good he is defensively with his stick.
314-399-9646 is the Your Comfort Service text line from the 636. Guys, why would a team trade for Lars Nootbaar this offseason when he's a free agent after the 2027 season with a lockout looming? I think a lot of teams are operating right now as if they're going to play baseball in 2027. Now, that doesn't mean they will play a full season. But if you're a GM and you operate as if you're not playing baseball, you're going to put yourself into a position where you're screwed if they do play baseball in 2027, which I think is pretty likely. I don't think they're going to miss the entire season. I would be pretty surprised by that, but who knows?
Depends on how much they want to put their foot down on a cap.
So I don't think teams are going to be doing a lot of trading early in the offseason because of this, but it puts you in a tough spot.
Well, you acquire him because you want to get him in-house. You get him in-house, and even if he's eligible for free agency, if you get him there and you have success, then you try and extend him. That's the whole reason.
If you have him in-house prior to the start of the year, you can give him the qualifying offer after the season.
That's the big value.
And if for some reason your team struggles, well, then you could flip him again at the deadline.
Yeah, and like even though he's a rental, there's teams that are always looking for outfield help, right? So like if you need an outfielder, your question becomes, do I want Nootbaar at a rental deal, which is pretty affordable? Now, I got to give up some draft or some prospect capital. Or do I want to go out to the free agent market? And I haven't looked at the outfield market, but I don't think it's a very deep market this offseason. That's how a team could get to the spot where they say, sure, we'll take our shot on Newt.
From the 573, if you could reverse any of the deals or signings that the Cardinals have done since the end of last season, would you? Probably not. I think I would have still done all of the stuff that they did.
I think you're asking about Donovan.
And that's interesting because I was going to bring up a different one. If you had to reverse one, which one would it be for you? If you had to take back one signing or trade, I'll give you mine. I would keep Sonny Gray. If I had to reverse one of them. And the reason why is because what you got in return for him was Richard Fitz, who's not pitching right now, and Brandon Clark, who's not pitching right now. And Sonny Gray, if you had him at the front end of your rotation right now, and you had Kyle Leahy in the bullpen, I think you're feeling pretty damn good about where you're at from a pitching perspective. And it doesn't change a ton about your future.
I think it's a good one, and
Sonny's been great this season.
Did they just need a clean cut from all of the vets and give it to the younger guys? That's my only question with that, and that's why I think I would lean more towards Donovan. Now that we've seen what Gorman is, and I know Blaze Jordan has been fun, but what are we talking about with third base? We're talking about it being a hole. So I think Brendan Donovan would be a really good piece to have on this team. Your lineup would be much deeper, and as good as Senja could be, I feel good about where the pipeline's at right now with all of these other options. So I think that would be the one I would replace.
Don't forget 2 comp picks in that deal and Ty Pete as well.
Yeah.
Now, if I would have got my Superman from Seattle, what was his name?
I don't remember.
Montez?
I know who you're talking about.
Montez, yeah. Now I would have been saying absolutely not, but they didn't get the right guy.
I haven't seen what he's done this year. Go ahead,
I would still do the Donnie would be the one I would reverse because I think if you do the Gray, I'm guessing you don't end up with May. And I actually think you're probably worse off then. And I'm not even sure Gray ends up doing this here in St. Louis. For whatever reason, he just never seemed to click here. So I would say Donovan because, sure, you don't have some of those prospects that you end up with, but third base, you could go with him. And then now where you would put Blaze in that spot, I don't know. But I feel better about the defense and the offense from Donnie in that
Montez
spot.
got 20 home runs in Double-A.
Sheesh. Boy, him and Baez? Oh, my gosh.
Can you imagine if they had both of them?
Montez, Baez, and Walker outfield. My goodness. That's Yelich, Ozuna, Stanton all over again.
Because Baez is a big boy.
Yeah.
Montez is 6'5", 220.
And
then you've
Walker.
got Walker, who's 6'6", 250.
Man, I'll need a cigarette after that one, too.
Go ahead and put all three in the outfield. It'd be the worst defensive outfield in
it'd be
Major League
bad.
Baseball.
One of those guys
man.
run into the other one, they're probably
Those
dead.
benches clear. We've got 3 linebackers coming in to support the boys.
Oh, boy, I would want that.
314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. We got this on the YouTube chat from STL Chris. Guys, have they talked about BK's polls from X yet? Sure haven't. But we're going to do that next. Would you be open to moving Joshua Baez at his peak
my
value? We'll
God.
talk about it next year on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario here for Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We all know Dobbs. They've been a St. Louis institution since 1976, and we know that they're the place with the best tire prices in town guaranteed. Now, what you might not know is that they send you a complimentary digital vehicle condition report every time you come in for service or tires. So what is that, you might ask? It's simple. Photos, videos, expert advice that you can trust to keep you rolling, sent right to your phone to put you in the driver's seat on every repair. You get to see what the technicians see, full trust and full transparency. And Dobbs offers the fixed forever warranty, which guarantees the parts and labor on their auto service for as long as you own that car. That's not something you get anywhere else. So whatever you drive, do yourself a favor and bring it to Dobbs. They've got locations all over town, staffed with expert technicians who can take care of all your vehicles. Schedule your service online 24/7 at gotodobbs.com. Check it out, gotodobbs.com.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. You guys know how I am. I have a bit of a problem. I can't allow people to just enjoy something.
I know. The second you're putting your mouth guard in to get ready for this fight.
Oh, come on, man.
I have to make things a little more complicated.
Get the noise that goes with it.
So, please don't do that. The Cardinals have one of the most exciting prospects in all of minor league baseball right now. His name's Joshua Baez. Yesterday, just a ridiculous feat. 4 home runs in a single game. That's absurd. Nobody does that.
The first thing you think of is?
How could you trade him? What could you get for a guy like this?
That's BS. That's not the first thing you thought of. Tell the people the truth.
I mean, it was the first thing I thought of.
No, you said, how can we trade this guy and capitalize?
That's what he said.
No, I thought you said, how do you get this guy to the major leagues?
No.
Do you listen to the
Not
show at all?
No, neither of us do.
Neither do you, pal.
It's
but
fair.
Yeah, no. We're not going to just accuse me on this. It's both of us.
Do you ever listen to anything that's said?
Yeah, the same time you don't, I don't. Neither of us listen.
I'm the only one that listens on this show.
No, you don't do
And
it
that's
too.
because you're literally paid to do so as you do our podcast.
That's true.
Okay, so
There's also times that you're podcasting and
But
forget.
I'm still listening. I have a pretty good sense what's going on.
I'm excited about Joshua Baez. I think he has a chance to be a really good player for the Cardinals. The upside here is immense. It's hard to ignore. The guy has ridiculous power. He is big. He is fast. He can play in the outfield. All of these things are reasons to be very excited if you're a Cardinals fan. And I'm not trying to tell anybody you should tamp down the excitement of this player. There are some warning signs here, though. And they're similar to like what Nolan Gorman was as a prospect. Now, it's different. Every prospect is different, and that's important. That is a huge disclaimer here. But if we're going to go through this, he swings and misses a lot. Like a lot, even for a minor leaguer. And that's at AAA. That's going to get worse, not better at the major league level. He also, when he swings inside of the zone, normally you make contact at an extremely high rate in those situations. He does not. And that's a concern when he gets to the big league level. Is he going to be able to make enough contact to take advantage of the clear raw power that he has? I don't know. It's an open-ended question. We'll find out together. And he chases a ton. And that is a real concern, and that's how you end up getting these really high peaks and these really low valleys, where you're pitching, you're swinging at bad pitches, and you get yourself out because of that. So you've got big strikeout numbers, low walk rate, low batting average. That's not a good recipe for success. If it works, 40 home run power. If it doesn't, it's a guy that every Cardinals fan is going to be hoping is out of the lineup immediately. So there's a huge range of outcomes here for a guy like Joshua Baez. And so this got me to thinking, Alex, as I was reading over on ESPN.com earlier today, they had their top 100 MLB trade deadline candidates for this year. And I saw a couple of players on the list that, frankly, I'm pretty excited about. I mentioned Byron Buxton on Monday as one of my biggest takeaways from the weekend. That guy deserves to play for a contender. Now, does he want to leave Minnesota? Fair question. My answer is probably no, but maybe. And if he does, he's on pace this year for 50 home runs and 15 stolen bases. In other words, kind of what you're hoping Joshua Baez becomes is what Byron Buxton currently is. He also has 2 more years of club control at $15 million per season, which is not only a reasonable deal, it's a great contract for anybody that could potentially trade for him. They also had Joe Ryan, who we saw over the weekend, Alex. He's been great this season. He's been awesome for like 5 years with the Minnesota Twins. 3.5 ERA over the last 4 years combined. If the Twins called and said, hey, we really want Joshua Baez. We're looking for upside and long-term plays in our outfield right now. And Baez is exactly the kind of piece that we're missing in our organization. We will trade you Joe Ryan or Byron Buxton straight up for Joshua Baez. If you're in Chaim Bloom's shoes, is that something you would entertain right now? Or is that something where you're saying to yourself, the prospect pedigree here is too great, I'm not moving on from Joshua Baez.
Yeah, the latter. The prospect pedigree is too great. I'm not moving on from him. I'm not in a position to where I can sell one of my top prospects for something that does help me now, but I don't think I'm in a position to get help now and go win everything. I like the idea of Joe Ryan because I know what the upside looks like, but I also feel great about this pitching pipeline right now, and I just don't think you're at the position to just push in and go get the starting pitcher for you. And I love Byron Buxton. But I also know Byron Buxton is an injury liability, and I also know Byron Buxton is over 30, and it's concerning. So I think where you're at in your timeline, as fun as this is right now, I'm not moving on from Joshua Baez. Maybe this is the best he's ever going to look. I want to find out. I mean, people were pissed for the longest time about Randy Arozarena, and you only got to see, 10 games at the major league level? I'm not in a position where I'm ready to move on from a guy who is doing something that we just have not seen done before. So, yes, it's the minors. Yes, he's got swing and miss stuff. I still think I would stick with the upside versus selling him to get something that helps you for the now, but long-term may not help you.
Yeah, I would just rather keep Baez. And the reason for me is because there's just, like you said when you were kind of leading into this segment, there's just not many guys that have this kind of power potential, right? And I'm going to bet on that, even though, there's a decent chance that it kind of fails, right? I mean, you mentioned Gorman is a good example of this. But there's only been 38 guys across Major League Baseball over the last decade with 40-plus home run seasons. I'm willing to bet on that rather than say, you know what, I'm going to try and trade this and see if I can get an arm that's got control. I love Joe Ryan. He's got good stuff.
Yeah.
I would rather build a package with other pieces around it than move on from a guy like Baez with this kind of power potential. I'm just going to bet on this all the time, right? Because I see how you win in the modern game, and it's slug, baby, slug. And this is one of your best power hitters within the organization. I want to see if I can make it work out here, and especially I'm not giving up power that's got 6 years of control.
I get it. I don't blame anybody for saying no to this deal. I think the Cardinals would say no to either of these two deals. I would really consider it for either of these two players. I know that sounds crazy for a 32-year-old in Byron Buxton, but I think Lars Nootbaar can be your starting left fielder for the next 2 years. And I would have no issues with that whatsoever. He's just a good player. Is he perfect? No. He's got his warts. Doesn't hit for as high of an average as you probably would like. Hasn't seen the power over the last couple of years. Maybe that was due to some of these injuries. And yes, there are too many injuries. Those are all questions with him. But he's a good player when he's on the field. And I think the odds of Joshua Baez outperforming him over the next 2 years, pretty low, frankly. I think over the rest of this year and the start of next year, I would probably take Lars Nootbaar production-wise offensively over Joshua Baez. Long-term, rather have Baez. But for the next 2 years, I think it's fair to go with the Newt side of things there. And after that, I think they might be able to turn left field over to somebody else in the minor league system, whether that's Ty Pete or one of the draft picks that's coming up through the system over the next couple of years, or maybe it's Rainiel Rodriguez, or maybe it's Ivan Herrera, who convert from DH/catcher to left field, potentially. That's where a lot of guys end up going whenever they're done with some of these other positions where you're like, you know what, let's go hide them in left field now. Is that ideal? No, maybe not, but it's a potential landing spot for these guys. So I've got alternatives out there for my long-term future in left field beyond just Joshua Baez being the only answer out there. You have nobody in center. What's the plan there? I don't see it right now. And so Buxton would be super appealing to me. And we're not talking about just trading for a guy. This is a superstar. When he's on the field, big caveat there, doesn't happen a whole lot, but when he's out there, he's legitimately one of the most productive players in all of Major League Baseball. Like, we're talking about a guy that could immediately come in and probably be your second best player or maybe your best player to pair alongside Jordan Walker. And if not that, Joe Ryan, this guy immediately is your number one. Is he a number one for a World Series contending team? I would say no, but he has a 3.1 ERA, and for the last 3 years, it's 3.6, 3.4, 3.1. That's a number one for a World Series contending team. So, yeah, I think I would probably consider doing this for either of those two players, despite where the Cardinals are at right now in their quote-unquote rebuild, because I don't think you're that far away from being a pretty good contender. These guys get you a lot closer to that than I believe Joshua Baez does.
Yeah, there's just two guys right now, I guess three guys I would put into this conversation that are not getting moved at this stage of my organization, whatever you want to call it. It's Baez, it's Rodriguez, and it's Doyle. Those three just are not going to be a part of any package for me, and I'm not listening on it because they could be the pieces that I need to open that sustained winner rather than trade something that may not turn out to what you need, but also doesn't make you the sustained winner that Chaim Bloom's looking for.
Yeah. From Millstat Meat Hammer. So you want to trade a 22-year-old stud prospect for a 33-year-old oft-injured center fielder? Potentially. I don't think this will happen, but, man, we fall for prospects all the time. I don't know what Joshua Baez is going to look like in the big leagues. It might be great.
I want to find out, though.
I totally understand that. This is not a thing where I'm like campaigning, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. I'm saying if it was offered to me and I'm in Chaim Bloom's shoes, I think it's more of a conversation than it would necessarily appear to be on the surface because of how special Byron Buxton is as a player. This is not me saying, like, anybody on this top 50 list I'm willing to trade Joshua Baez for. I picked these two for a reason. One, I think Buxton is special. And two, Joe Ryan is a really, really good starting pitcher, and he has another year of club control. And that's the kind of return that Minnesota would probably want in order to trade him. Because they're not just going to decide, we'll go ahead and give him to you for, a lower level prospect that's a lottery ticket. No, in that case, they'll just keep Joe Ryan. They're going to have to get a huge return for somebody like this. And Joshua Baez is the kind of chip that lands you a player like a Joe Ryan. And I think that would be super appealing to a team in the Twins' current situation. There's also I don't think there's anybody else on this list that I would trade or even consider trading Joshua Baez for. I think those are the only two. It's only the Twins that I would be talking to for these kinds of prospects.
I agree with that because I started looking at the list. I didn't see anybody else that really stood out that got plenty of control that's worth giving up a significant prospect for. I also for me, Buxton's not even a conversation. To me, it's just flat no. I'm not even sure I would have the conversation. Ryan is more appealing to me because I think when you look at the Cardinals, what's their bigger need? It's on the rotation side. I don't think they have an issue with their offense. They don't,
but think about how special it could be with Buxton.
Sure, but
man.
I know it doesn't matter if I don't have a good enough pitching. Right, I keep saying this a lot. You can't outslug your pitching problems.
And if he's not available for you.
The other problem.
Injury-wise.
Injury-wise.
And I don't know how well... I know the Twins at one point gave up the experiment of him in center and then went right back to it. Yeah. And it still hasn't been able to fix him, right? Like, they tried to move him to DH to try and keep him healthy. He still got hurt. They moved him to a corner to keep him healthy. Still got hurt. Like, his body's just going to give up on him. So
maybe.
I would not,
Cardinals seem to be really good at keeping guys healthy.
Twins call me,
because they don't play him in the positions that would get him injured, so he's not a center fielder for you.
I would hang up the phone.
He's been playing center field exclusively this season. He's been great.
Yeah, I have no interest in him, and I'm not moving Baez for him. Ryan is one where I am at least intrigued, but I still don't think you're giving up 6 years of control. I think these are all-in moves, and I don't think they're in for an all-in move.
I don't think it is, though.
I think it is, because we talk about this all the time. How often does a top 50 prospect get moved at the deadline? Well, how does a top 50 prospect get moved at the deadline? He's a top 50 prospect in baseball.
That's what it's going to take, though.
That's an all-in move.
I don't think it is. You've still got a ton in your minor league system, guys. And you
don't have that in your minor league system, though.
You don't have that kind of power.
You don't have that power.
Rodriguez is a better prospect than Joshua Baez.
Plays a different position.
Right now, I'm not sure where he's going to be long-term. He may be a left fielder. That's part of my consideration.
Well, then why not trade Rodriguez?
Because he's better than Joshua Baez and has fewer questions. To me, Rainiel Rodriguez is the guy that, I don't really have a question on how that bat translates to the big league level. There's not swing and miss. It's a high contact rate. It's a big on-base percentage. He's translated at a younger age at every level than Joshua Baez has. There are a lot of legitimate questions to be asked about how Joshua Baez will translate to this level. And I don't have those same questions about Rodriguez as a hitter. He, to me, is a more seamless transition to what I'm expecting out of him at this level. And it's why I think he's a top 10 prospect in all of Major League Baseball right now. And a guy like Joshua Baez is more in that 50 range. Yeah, because there are some real questions about him.
I just hang on to both of them, right? I got two outs for a right-handed power bat potentially coming through my system. And I don't need a center fielder in Buxton to be added to this. I do think those are all-in moves because I think when you give up that amount of capital, that seems to signal that you are pushing. And I don't know that they're there yet. I think they should be looking to add a starting pitcher to this rotation just to give them a better fighting chance if they make it to October. Going after Buxton, going after Ryan, those feel like all-in moves to me of, okay, we are officially here. And if they're willing to push once we get into the offseason, okay, then I'm willing to listen to it. I don't think that they're there yet, though, as an organization.
If they weren't, if these guys didn't have more club control beyond 2026, I would feel that way. But they do. Joe Ryan is still under control for next year as well. Then you've got the qualifying offer or a potential extension with him. And with Byron Buxton, you have 2 more years beyond 2026 with him under contract as well. So that's a big part of the consideration for me as well. Is I've potentially got my 3-year answer in center field. I've got 2 or 3 years at a minimum with Joe Ryan as one of my top flight starting pitchers. And I'm trying to capitalize on this season. I think this team's really good. And if you're able to add in another blue chip talent, either on the pitching side of things or on the position player side of things, and what I'm giving up is like in the Buxton conversation in particular, is a player that would have otherwise potentially had to fit into that spot, I feel pretty good about that. I know it's a lot to give up, but that's what it's going to cost to get a blue chip talent. I understand that it feels weird because they said they were in a rebuild, and that's why they won't make these moves. But for me, it's something that I would at least consider going into the deadline. That's probably the only time we're going to have this conversation. I wanted to do so coming off of Joshua Baez's 4-home run day.
What a time to do it.
Because you're never going to see him at a higher value than where he is at today. This is
unless he hits 5
The
today.
absolute peak of Joshua Baez value is right now. We'll get into NFL quick hitters next. From the 636, BK, I think you make outrageous trades just to get reactions.
He does.
I got you to text, didn't we?
And it got you to probably vote on his poll.
I like seeing where people are at with certain players.
Nice spin rate, man.
To take a snapshot in time. I'm being serious. So like this time next year, we can see what Joshua Baez is doing, and we can see, hey, had they made this other move, how would that have gone? That's kind of what I'm doing here, is taking a poll, finding out where people are at with Joshua Baez's value today. Because I think if we had this exact same conversation at this point last year, and I had asked about the exact same kinds of players, everybody would have said pound it. Yes, absolutely, go get one of those guys. And today, because Baez has been so excellent, and I'm not blaming anybody for this, I might even agree with it, the answer is absolutely not. You cannot give up on this guy because of the upside.
On the flip side of that,
so
though,
things change quickly in Major League Baseball.
On the flip side of that, of why I would stick with Baez, last year, people were, you would have shipped Walker out for any of those guys because he was so bad. And now, is an untouchable for you. So, it goes, I'm not being cruel or sarcastic here. I'm genuinely curious. Like the ones that you've come up with of guys to trade, how many of them have been it's probably smart to do that versus not do that?
Looking back at Gorman, you should have traded him.
Because the Barbashev one's the one for me, and I still stay you shouldn't have moved that guy.
Carlson,
you should have moved him.
O'Neill,
we should have moved him.
O'Neill. You do that without my voice.
Yeah, I think a lot of the time, these prospects do not become what you think. Victor Scott, had they traded him at his peak value, probably would have been better than sticking around.
Flaherty.
Yeah, Flaherty.
He only had the one good year and then fell apart.
Baseball's just really hard to continue to sustain your level of success, man. It's so hard. So when you've got a guy that's producing like this in the minor leagues, it's one of the things that I respect the most about how the Padres operate. Take advantage of the value when it's there, man. Because when they get to the major league level, it's almost like a new car. You drive it off the lot, it loses half of the value that you paid for it, right? That's basically what prospects are. Once they get to the big league level and they struggle and you start to see what the holes are in their game against this level of pitching, it happens fast, and it smacks you in the face. And the opposite side of things, Alex, when we asked about Alec Burleson a couple of years ago, and T-Bone, forget the NFL quick hitters. We'll talk to Chris Kerber here in just a moment. When we talked about Alec Burleson a couple of years ago, people were like, this guy's no good. He was a top 100 prospect at the time. His prospect pedigree was not all that dissimilar from what Baez is right now. But people were disappointed by his early returns. He was a free swinger. He wasn't hitting for power, wasn't a high average. And they're like, well, this guy's just like a complimentary piece. Didn't trade him. And now you look back on that, it was the opposite, where it's really good they didn't trade him because that guy rocks.
Yeah. It comes down to the individual.
It would have been another one that I think a lot of people would say they should have traded him at the time.
It comes down.
They're still saying it.
Yeah. It comes down to the individual and the coachability of that player. Like Burleson's a perfect example of it. Yeah, I think people probably saw it at the time as free swinger, makes contact, which is great, but how much more can happen? I think stamina was something that was questioned with Burleson. How can he last in his 162 game schedule? And he worked on all of those in the next season. You saw it corrected. That's really what this comes down to is with Baez. The swing and miss stuff is there. And is there a coachability aspect to get him even further versus is it just who he is and there's no flipping it? And we don't know the answer to that. The coaching staff, the front office knows the answer to that with Josh Baez.
Yeah. And I just find this stuff to be so interesting on, is it better to have the current production at the NA or major league level in this scenario, or is it better to have the prospect that could become anything, right? It's the mystery box thing from Family Guy. It could be the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat. Or would you just rather have the boat?
No, mystery box.
And that's kind of where we're at right now with Joshua Baez. Joshua Baez could be anything. He may be a complete bust. He might be the next Tyler O'Neill. Or he might be
the next Mike Trout.
Byron Buxton.
Yeah, but see, you're selling him for a boat that's got a hole in it that leaks when I get in the water.
Fair. But Byron Buxton, when healthy, is a borderline MVP candidate. It's a really good player to build around, man. And that's why I find the valuation of that level of prospects to be really interesting. Mason Wynn was the same kind of thing. We didn't know what he was going to be at the big league level. There were questions about him translating as a hitter, but the defense was always this is going to be special at the major league level. The arm is unique. It's an 80 grade arm at the shortstop position. You don't see that very often. And so I remember at the time we were talking about, do you trade that for a proven commodity at the shortstop position? Do you go sign a shortstop, or do you just play this thing out with Mason Wynn? The answer was he play it out with Mason Wynn. I think they're probably pretty happy with the way that this has gone. But I find all of those conversations to be quite interesting. If you don't, it's totally fair. But these are the kinds of things that you have to think about if you're in the general manager's position, because it's the way you can consider improving your team, either from the prospects that are coming up or by using those prospects as currency to improve other areas of your roster. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. There's my 5 minutes on why we talked about the other thing. Coming up next, Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN.
And Classic Air Care has a 4.8 Google rating for a reason. They make customer service their number one priority. How about these reviews? We enjoy the promptness and professionalism of every person we have met, encountered, or had enter our home. They're very clean, neat, and down-to-business kind of employees. Couldn't ask for more. That's from Cindy K. Or how about this one? The professionalism of this company, as well as our service technician, Greg, was more than just a 5-star rating. He took the time, explained everything that he did, and now my unit is running at tip-top shape. That's from Charles P. You can see more reviews like that at the top of the page at classicaircare.com. Get them out to the house. Get a maintenance check done on that air conditioning unit. If anything is going wrong with it, give them a call. They can typically get to you within 24 hours, and you're going to get that kind of customer service because they care that much and make customer service that much of a priority. It's Classic Air Care. They've been making people comfortable since 1926.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Cardinals took down the Padres last night 3-2 as they've taken the first two games of this three-game set. Going for the sweep later on this afternoon. 1:15 will be first pitch. Padres will have a bullpen game today. Kyle Leahy will get the start for St. Louis. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows.
With Alex and T-Bone on BK, you've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Each and every Wednesday, we're joined by Chris Kerber, the voice of the Blues, joins us via the Kiley and Thompson hotline. Kerbs, appreciate the time as always. How you doing today?
BK, doing good. How are you?
Doing great, my man. So Alex told me that you guys were conversing yesterday via text, and you mentioned, hey, there's a center out there that I find really interesting as a potential option for the St. Louis Blues. And you did not tell Alex who it is.
No,
you said you'll reveal it today on BK and Ferrario.
Come on, Kerbs.
Kerbs, it is officially the offseason. Who's your guy?
Okay, crazy season. You know the player that I'm intrigued with? It's Jake DeBrusk.
He's not a center, Kerbs.
Well, I don't need a center.
But you don't need another winger.
Oh, listen, follow me on this. I'm looking at this.
All right, Kerbs, let's
right?
go. Let's walk down this path together.
I'm holding hands with you.
Let's go.
I'm looking like, okay, I'm not doing anything right now that's going to potentially block Dalibor Dvorsky. It doesn't make any sense in terms of the direction that this team decided to head with the way last season went. Okay, so Dalibor Dvorsky is going to get a lot of time. Do you need a wing? If you ask me, you don't really need another winger. Well, look, I think you probably got to move a winger, right? So let's say the one gets moved somewhere in this process. And I look at him, and I'm looking at a guy that's at 20, 25 goals, like 5-6 times in his career. Now, the challenge is he turns 30 right at the beginning of the season, and he's got 5 years left at $5.5 million. But you've got the cap space. You've got the ability, right? And he's had great success under Jim Montgomery. As a matter of fact, Jake himself said that Jim Montgomery resurrected his career, right? I think he's on the outside edge of that age group that Doug Armstrong have been looking for. But at the same time, I still believe you need kind of veteran players. This is a guy that I believe would accept a trade out of Vancouver. When he signed there as a free agent, he didn't sign up for what's going on in Vancouver right now. And I look at it, and to me, this just advances a process. That you put a winger out there, and it gives you a chance for, as Doug Armstrong said, Jimmy Snuggerud to hit a sophomore slump. It's going to be harder for him. It gives you a chance to bring Carbonneau along. If it doesn't look like he's ready and you put Carbonneau down in the minor leagues, you've got some stuff there. I just like the fact of mixing in some veteran guys, and I believe that the Blues – can kind of speed up a bit of a process is the word I'm looking for here. And I don't know that it would necessarily cost them all that much in the end. And real quick, just follow me one more step here.
We're coming down this road with you, Kerbs.
I haven't taken hands off yet.
Let's say that the cost was the 15th overall pick. Now, Jake was a 14th overall pick.
Nah, Kerbs,
okay?
come on.
Follow me here. Just follow me here, though. Okay? You're going to take a 15th overall pick, and do I believe the Blues are going to draft a very good player there? I do, because I have a ton of faith in what Tony Felcher and this team has done, frankly, over the last 20 years when it comes to the draft, right? But I also know I'm not going to see a player that's going to impact this team for probably 3 years, might make the team 2 or 3 years out, and then starts the growth process then. At that point in time, this team has got to be farther along than that in this process, because you'd be talking about year 7 or 8, 6 to 8 when you're talking about the rebuild. So it wouldn't take much to convince me to make a deal like that, to be honest with you, and I could see value in it for the Blues.
All right, so I will start with this. I hate this idea less than Alex does. I can already tell you that, based upon both of our reactions.
I can't hide my reaction either.
I hate this less than Alex does. Now, I think the 15th overall pick for Jake DeBrusk on a 5-year, $5.5 million deal with a modified no-trade clause for the next 4 seasons is bat bleep crazy. I would not do that. But would I take on the deal in some kind of a salary dump from Vancouver? Yeah, I'd probably be open to that. Here's my question as a follow-up for you, though, Kerbs. If Jake DeBrusk was from Saskatchewan, would you be interested in him?
What does Saskatchewan have to do with this?
Am I mixing him up with the other guy that's from St. Louis? Jake DeBrusk isn't from St. Louis, is he?
No, he's from Edmonton.
No.
Frederick is...
God bless it.
All right,
so,
cool.
yeah, you would be interested in him if he was from Saskatchewan.
I think they're pretty tough from Saskatchewan, so I'd take
based
that.
upon Alex's face, I was like, I'm going down a path here that's unnecessary. All right,
Trent Frederick is from St. Louis. Frederick Roofing.
Yep. Asked and answered.
Okay, Kerbs, I'll go with this one because BK's...
Those guys took care of my roof a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, BK's question is kind of erroneous at this point, so we'll move on here. Here's my
show prep by me as I learned of the player 4 seconds ago.
Here's my only qualm with it.
That's all right. I'm with you, BK. I've had those kind of mistakes in the middle of a hockey game, so don't worry about it.
He turned to me and he saw my face go blank, and he's like, he's not from St. Louis, is he? No. Here's my only qualm with it, Kerbs, because you said you don't want to go get a center to block Dalibor Dvorsky. If I'm getting Jake DeBrusk, aren't I doing the same with guys like Carbonneau and Otto Stenberg and Jake Neighbors? Because you've got Pavel Buchnevich on this roster, and I'm not really worried about Jonathan Berggren at this point. I think he's just kind of that extra forward, but he's still here, and you'll still have Jordan Kyrou in this sense. So I just don't know where Jake DeBrusk plays, whereas if I'm getting a center, I feel like he comes in, replaces a Pius Suter or Pavel Buchnevich, and you have that internal competition between a young center you acquire and Dalibor Dvorsky, where you're still getting value for guys that play the either second or third line center spot.
Good question.
Okay, so I'm not arguing with you on the standpoint of the value of the Blues finding another centerman. Okay, I'm just saying, when I was going down a rabbit hole and looking at things, I looked at this player and I'm like, man, like in today's salary cap era, even if it's not on the second line, if this guy's on a third line with the type of style of play that he has, which to me is just a grittier style, a little bit more hard-nosed style that this team could use, right? To me, you can put him on that. You can play him anywhere in your top 3 lines at some point in time and be effective, which is, with as much as we saw line changes last year, I think there's going to be some value to that, right? And I also think, now, one of the reasons I also, think, okay, now look, yes, is giving up the 15th a lot for that. Sure, yes, I can understand that. But I'm going to say, but you're going to take Jonathan Drouin back in his 1-year contract, so that one's coming off my books, right? And then at the same time, I still look at, and the reason I say that I wonder if something like this is a possibility is because I still have the 11th overall pick, right? And here's the one thing I know. They're all not going to be playing here. It's just not going to happen. I mean, the MO for what it takes to win a cup and the way these teams are built, it just doesn't seem to be happening that way. So I look at that, and I'm bringing in a guy. I know I'm going to get, a good solid 3+ more years of service time out of him. He's going to help make me keep me really competitive, right? I think there's no doubt. Look, you finished, 6 points out of a playoff spot last year. I don't think battling for a playoff spot should be unrealistic for this team this year. And I don't necessarily see him blocking somebody else up the lineup. Like right now, as it sits, you're talking Jonathan Berggren on your third line. Okay, he's going to be a little bit cheaper. You still got to get him re-signed, but I think DeBrusk brings you even more predictability on that. So if my third line ends up being something like a Suter, Neighbors, and and a DeBrusque, I'm really happy with that third line, and that's assuming that, I got my wingers on the second line performing. But if I got to move DeBrusque up and put Carbonneau down on a third line, or give Jimmy Snuggerud a break, right? Or Jake Neighbors, no matter how many times people try to put him on that third line, finds his way into the top six, I've got some really good depth, and I've got scoring depth that I don't think I fully have on in that bottom half right now. So I can justify this.
Alex, Suter and a third for DeBrusque. Who says no?
Vancouver, because they already had Suter.
But now they've got him on a 1-year, $4 million deal without any no-trade protection. They could potentially flip him at the deadline.
I think Vancouver would say no.
You think?
Probably.
Even though they would get cap flexibility now because DeBrusque is off the books, $5.5 million for the next 5 years.
Yeah, I think the only reason...
Full no move, by the way, this offseason.
Me personally, Curbs, and I don't know where you fall on this, I think they'd rather have draft picks and younger players than they would another NHL player coming back.
I think that's what they're flipping Suter for at the deadline.
Well, listen, and I'm again reading some tea leaves. Listening to Jim Montgomery yesterday when he talked about one of the values of having Greg Cronin come in is this will be the youngest team that Jim Montgomery has worked with. So that tells me that they're going to be obviously sticking to this youth. I think the team at the cost and what they signed him at, I think they find really solid value in Pius Suter. I don't see that. I don't see that move happening. It just depends on where Vancouver is. But if
Suter's here, where is this guy playing?
If Suter's where?
If Suter's playing for the Blues, where are you finding all of this playing time? Like, there's only 9 spots in the top 9. I think my math's correct, sir.
Yeah, at this point, I'm saying I look at it. It's an upgrade from Jonathan Berggren. It's an upgrade spot.
Is Otto Stenberg in your lineup?
Third line right wing for a lot. If that guy was last year was my third line right wing for a good chunk when he played, and I liked the way he played. I'm better off in that position.
Where's
I think.
Stenberg
with the
playing in your lineup? Is he here?
Otto Stenberg?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, he's here.
What about Kyrie?
He's not here.
Okay, so that's how you make your spot.
Remember, guys, I said you're trading a wing. Like, I'm assuming that there's a move happening anyway on a winger somewhere.
So you're replacing Kyrou with DeBrusque, and then Stenberg or Carbonneau is an upgrade over Berggren for you.
And I'm saving some cap space if that move happens. And part of the reason I'm like, okay, and listen, guys, I understand that there's plenty of holes in what I'm saying here, right? But I do believe that there's value in saving some cap space right now for the St. Louis Blues. You still have an 11th overall pick that you're going to be picking with. I mean, again, when I look at all the different options the Blues have next week in the draft, I look at teams that just don't know kind of what direction they're going in and where they're at. And it's the move where I actually think you kind of become, a better team. I'll take a few less goals and more predictability in the play with the way this team is built and coached. And so I can, again, you got to give something to get something. Sometimes that added cap space, those kind of things. Look, flip side of this is this. The Blues are going to have their players blocked. They look at a highly rated player. They look at where they're at. They're saying, no, I'll be able to make that move at another time, and I'm going to use that draft pick. But when I look at where I think this team could get with Holloway having the kind of years that Endy had, what I saw with Thomas and Snuggerud, and I look at the steps forward that I think could happen, right? To me, a veteran player like that could be a big piece of that. And I like the idea of it.
I agree with the sentiment of, like, you're a young team on the forward side, and, like, you would like a little bit more veteran presence there, and you have the depth with DeBrusque. I just think my only concern with this team right now, Curbs, is you just beyond Thomas and Dalibor Dvorsky, I don't know if Pius Suter is the guy I feel comfortable with at the center position. And I think for how much talent you have on the wing, I'm looking for something that can add more value to those wingers. And if something happens to Robert Thomas or Dalibor Dvorsky at some point in the season, without upgrading that center position, now we're talking about Pavel Buchnevich back at center, and I just don't think that gets the most value out of the Blues.
That's where I'm at, Curbs, is like I like the idea of DeBrusque far more than Alex does. I can tell he's trying to tamp this thing down. But
I understand.
Alex hates it. He thinks this is the worst idea.
Stop it.
I mean, this guy is a consistent 20 to 25 goal producer. He puts 45 points on the board every year, and he plays a style that's super predictable. So,
and a style that Jim Montgomery wants from his players.
100%. I like the idea of Jake DeBrusk on this team. I see how he could fit here. I just would do that in tandem with also adding a center for that third line.
Sure.
And so this is where
Guys, I'm not saying that it's one or the other.
No, for sure.
Point.
I wanted to ask you about...
We are not at the point... Yeah, we're not at the point where we're adding one player and saying, there it is. Like, there is still... Yeah. This is still a chessboard where there are several other pieces that are going to be moving around. But you're not going to... Like, and to your point, one of the negatives of this is if you think that this could block a Stenberg, you're not going to do that. But I don't see Alexei Toropchenko as being more than a fourth-line player.
Agreed.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. I don't see Jack Finley being any higher up the lineup than your fourth-line center, although I really do like what he was doing in terms of winning faceoffs, but there wasn't a whole lot else to his game that we saw just yet. Okay. So I think there's definitely, some room in there, and I think you just got to add. Now, look, Jake doesn't rack up penalty minutes and stuff like that, but it's not going to over.
Okay, that's a good thing in my mind.
Yeah, I think they have to. Yes, I do think adding some center depth is part of it. Okay, but I'm not saying that one has to be exclusive of the other. And listen, and I know. Look, I was saying the 50th. Yes, I realized the 15th overall pick. I was using that as saying, let's say you had to, right? Then you say, okay, you take this, and then you're
That's
taking.
That's where we hit our fork
the
in the road moment, Curbs.
But
BK's eyes went up.
Then part of that is okay. I'm taking the 4 or 5 year contract off your hands. You're taking the 1 year contract with Jonathan Duran.
I gotcha.
Off my hands. Things like that. So there's the wheeling and dealing there. But listen, if they could add a little bit of center depth, that's one thing. Hey, listen. Does that center depth, come up? Like what do the Blues decide to do with Dylan Dubé? And does he decide to sign, with the Blues? And where does that all fit in? So there's some other pieces here. I think the biggest reason that it would not happen would either be A, the cost, or B, the fact that he's on the outer edge of that age window that the Blues are liking right now.
All right, Curbs, we got 60 seconds here. We're well behind, but I wanted to ask you about this because
we're always behind.
I know.
This was a great conversation.
Was mad at us yesterday, and now we're going to make sure that we get to the right once again. Mason McTavish is a guy who we've been hearing a lot about in the rumor mill over the last few weeks. He's 23 years old, former top 5 overall selection in the NHL draft. He signed long-term by the Anaheim Ducks. Curbs, is this the kind of player that you would be interested in? He certainly fits the age range. Is it a guy that you'd be interested in for the Blues, depending on cost?
No, he fits the age range, but no, I don't. I'm not a huge fan of that contract there. I don't think I've seen enough consistency, in that to justify that. I guess, yes, it always comes down depending on the cost, but I think he got enough youth coming up. I'm going to go back to our previous topic where I think a little veteran presence is actually a positive thing. So I'd go another way.
Curbs in on the definitely not St. Louis and Jake DeBrusk.
Oh, I thought he was from St. Louis.
Out.
Not Saskatchewan.
On Mason McTavish. Yeah. He is from Edmonton. Looked it up, and turns out that's not close to St. Louis.
You did the research in the segment.
They have mountains. They have...
Saskatchewan has mountains.
Yeah.
St. Louis doesn't really have mountains. They got cliffs.
We have cliffs. Bluffs.
Why did we both say cliffs?
I don't know. Carlos, appreciate the time, man.
Fellas, the geography has been fascinating.
Yes, it has.
It's been great. That's Chris Kerber, voice of the Blues. Appreciate his time as always. Joining us on Wednesdays here on BK.
The jingle has always been for a hole in your roof, for a hole in a new roof. DeBrusk roofing.
I don't know what happened. I had like some... The wires got crossed, and in my mind,
I went back.
Trent Frederick was Jake DeBrusk for about 3 minutes.
I went back and watched the video on YouTube when he said it. My face went complete. What are you talking about?
Alex is like, all right, following you.
Frederick never even played for Vancouver, man.
No, but he played for Boston, and I think of both of them as like resurrecting their careers under Jim Montgomery. And so listen, it's wires got crossed. I apologize. I screwed up. Sometimes I get things wrong on this show. Some tour is next. It is time for you to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with my friends over at Victory Men's Health. Check them out today. 4 great locations across the St. Louis area. And the easiest way to do so is honestly online on their website, victorymenshealth.com. When you get there, go over to the top right corner of the page. It says Get Started. Click on that. Put in your name, email, phone number. Tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you. And then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. Each one starts the same way. You go in for that initial visit. You'll get a consultation with a licensed medical provider. They will do a comprehensive lab report for you that finds out where all of your different levels are at. That includes where your testosterone levels are. And they'll find where the different biomarkers are. When you go back for that next appointment, you'll be able to put together your personalized plan to find out what it means for you to unlock your inner champion. You can tell them a little bit about some of your goals. Maybe it's weight loss or workouts. You're trying to add some more muscle to your frame. Whatever the case may be, check them out at Victory Men's Health. Testosterone optimization, weight loss goals, sexual health, they have it all for you at Victory Men's Health and victorymenshealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. So I mentioned yesterday it was day 1 of our skating lessons for my little guy Luca at home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't sure how this was going to go.
Kind of hoping when you showed up today you'd have something on your nose that you broke it because you fell.
It was in play.
Damn.
So, you know, we said yesterday they're probably going to have those little things that you push on the ice to help you stand up. Nope, none of that.
Oh, well,
No,
this is going south for Brandon quick.
That is not how we learn at this particular lesson. No, it is just me and Luca. We're skating around the ice together. So we get there. We missed last week. That was week 1 of the lessons. Wish I could have been there. I was in New York. It was a previously scheduled thing. There's just no way to get out of it.
Those are excuses, Brandon.
So this week we go. Last week they apparently started out off of the ice and they learned how to like walk in their skates and then how to get up from the ground whenever they fall. So they started slow and worked their way toward the ice. This week, straight onto the ice.
Kind of feels like an important class to be at.
Agreed. So we start by immediately getting onto the ice, and Luca's like, what the bleep is going on? What is happening
Thanks
here?
a lot, Dad.
Was not happy. Was not having it. Crying. Very upset. Wanted me to pick him up, go home, go to mommy. Like, it was just not a good situation for about 5 full minutes.
And then you said, you're going to do this.
No. I tried to be supportive. Hey, man, we're going to be all right. It's all good. It's just going to take some time. We'll work through this. You're going to be skating like Colton Parayko. Like, you got this, man. And so we get about 5, maybe 10 minutes in, and he's starting to figure it out a little bit. You know, he's starting to have some fun. They do some games with him, and he's kind of starting to pick it up a little bit. We get about 15, 20 minutes in. Little man's loving it. He's now saying, I'm fast like Colton Parayko. I'm moving. Just having an absolute blast. Now, we're falling down every 4 strides.
As you would expect.
But he's figuring out how to get himself back up. Like, we had a good time with it. Leave the place yesterday, walk off of the ice, go back into the locker room area where you put your skates back up. He wants to refuse to take his skates off because he's like, no. These are now mine. I have these. So tonight, we're going to buy him some skates. We're going to wear them around the house. So to report back from yesterday, update on the story, it went great, Alex.
That's
yes,
awesome.
There were about 5 minutes of tears, but after that, all's well that ends well. We had a great time.
5 minutes of tears is a win on top of, 30-plus minutes of enjoying what he was doing?
Heck yeah.
And now you got the itch, and so next time you're already involved with it. That's the first thing you just got to get over
And
is
guess what
the
we
crime.
did? We took Joey's advice yesterday afterwards, went to get some ice cream.
See, there you go. Did you
over
take
to
Joey's advice where you said run the other way when it comes to hockey?
Clearly
Didn't do
not.
that, and
Okay.
clearly today we're going to be spending some money. It sounds like we're going to be going over to Pure Hockey to grab him some hockey skates. So we're already on round one.
Not
of
doing what Joey told you.
Paying some of that money.
You'll get
for
there, buddy.
hockey.
You'll get there.
With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Coming up next, the Cardinals starting pitching has far exceeded expectations, but at least one neutral site says it's the number one spot that they should be looking to upgrade. How do they do it? How likely is it that they do it? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. With Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. The starting pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals has been a lot better than I think most of us expected this season. Now, Libby maybe would be the exclusion from this. He's been slightly disappointing, I would say, relative to what we saw at this point last year. But other than that, Kiley's basically been as good as I could have hoped, given what our expectations were for him coming into this season. Pallante's been awesome. McGreevy, the underlying stuff, not great, but the actual numbers, hard to argue with. And Dustin May's been a legitimate number one at this point for the last 2 months. So the starting rotation is exceeding expectations. Alex, where is your confidence level at, though, on the group that I just referenced there?
I would probably put it at about 6 or a 7 right now.
Out of 10?
7? Yeah, probably, because
I don't think we're doing that anymore.
No, we may not be. I absolutely am.
He's an old man that's a dad.
My 5-year-old did it in the car the other day, and it was hilarious. I feel very confident when Dustin May takes the mound. Same can be said about Michael McGreevy, and I'm starting to get to that point with Andre Pallante. So the reason it's not higher is because of Kyle Leahy and Matthew Liberatore, because those two guys I don't feel confident in, which means I'm going to my bullpen sooner, which means the game might get out of hand. But to have 3 guys, which one of them we said yesterday, in my opinion, is the stopper for your team. And I mean, Michael McGreevy looks like a legit, regardless of if I think regression comes at some point, guy finds ways to give you competitive starts, and Pallante's just had a consistent stretch now. So the confidence level is beyond a 5 with this rotation as a group.
Yeah, I would say I'm at like a 6, maybe. I think
wanted to.
It's so cringeworthy. I have some more confidence in them for the regular season, right? If this is a playoff conversation, it is a different level. But I trust May when he takes them out. I trust Pallante when he takes them out. I trust McGreevy, but that's the one where it starts to kind of teeter for me, because the underlying metrics, I think, at some point are going to catch up to him. Maybe not as bad as what they say, whereas expected ERA is 5.57. I don't think it's going to be that bad, but if he regresses down to like a 3.9 or 4 ERA, you're really going to feel it for him, because that means he's really going to struggle. That's why I'd say I'm at like a 5 or a 6. I think it's where this is definitely a spot they need to be looking to upgrade, because right now I like May as your 1. And I think you're missing a clear-cut 2. I don't mind McGreevy, Pallante in that 3-4 conversation. And then your Leahys and Libby's are 5s. One of those guys gets pushed to the pen if you make an addition. But they definitely need another arm to come in here to help them out.
Would you say they're missing like a Joe Ryan level of starter?
Yeah, Joe Ryan, but not at the cost of Joshua Baez.
But I'm not going to give up one of my best prospects in my minor league system.
I get that completely. Somebody on the YouTube chat, youtube.com/101 ESPN STL. From, who was it? Jack over on the YouTube chat said, who had the worst take today, Kerbs or BK? Probably me. Over on The Athletic,
it's close.
They put together the urgency rankings of which teams most urgently need to upgrade certain areas of their roster. For example, for the lineup, the number 1 team that urgently needs to upgrade, the San Diego Padres.
That's just the eye test.
Yeah, good luck upgrading that, by the way.
I would say that's an accurate assessment of what we've seen over the last 48 hours.
That's not an external upgrade, too. That's an internal upgrade. Where
starting pitching-wise, number 1 is the Athletics, number 2, the Chicago Cubs, and number 3, your St. Louis Cardinals. Here's what the Athletic wrote about them. The Cardinals have banked enough wins to be a 50-50 shot at the playoffs right now. That's higher than the Cubs, though not by much. And going forward, their rotation ranks worse than the Cubs in almost every way. So why aren't they ranked higher on this list than the Cubs? Well, because they're in a different spot organizationally. This is a team that was supposed to be in transition, working to improve player development and draft processes so that their next great rotation in St. Louis could come from within. But it doesn't really make sense to just give a season away. If the Cardinals can find a way to improve one of the spots in their rotation, particularly with a pitcher who still has some team control, they'd have to be interested. I agree with that assessment completely. I think you guys are right. Right around a 6 is probably where I would put my current level of confidence in this staff. I think it's fine, but you could definitely use an upgrade in this rotation. And that gets us to another piece that was released earlier today. This one comes from Kiley, McDaniel, and Jeff Passan over on ESPN.com. You guys want to go through some of the starters that they have available potentially this year's deadline?
Joe Ryan's on one of those lists.
He is indeed.
Okay.
Tarek Skubal, number 1 on this list.
I'm interested in that.
We can cross it off, right?
Oh, okay, cool.
To get into the conversation, we're talking bias.
I thought
plus.
you wanted to push your chips in and go for a World Series.
Not for just the remainder of 26, as I mentioned with the Joe Ryan conversation.
Re-sign him.
They're not going to do that.
Don't be a coward and pay the money.
Joe Ryan is available in this list as well. He has another year of control beyond this season. That is somebody I would be very interested in. I don't know what the package would look like for the Cardinals. I don't think they would probably do a deal like that, but as I mentioned earlier, that is somebody that I would be interested in. Reed Detmers is the next one on this list. Now, he is not exactly a household name, but Reed Detmers has been quite good this season for the Los Angeles Angels. In 15 starts for them, he has a 3.6 ERA and has decent strikeout stuff, actually. Has struck out 100 batters over the course of 88 innings. Is Reed Detmers, who has 2 more years of club control beyond this season, somebody that you'd be willing to spend a pretty penny on, by the way, because he's got that club control? Would you be willing to trade a bit of a haul for 26-year-old Reed Detmers?
No. I don't think so. I think this falls into the Joe Ryan conversation, and this one doesn't even have the same success run as Joe Ryan does. I think if I'm paying a lot for a guy who's pitching well right now, I don't think that benefits you long term.
Yeah, I don't have interest in him. He's intriguing because of the strikeout stuff, but he's going to cost too much for a guy that's only proven to do it once as a starter. Last year did it well out of the pen. I wouldn't give up the prospect haul to go get him.
Jose Soriano, righty from the LA Angels. Is that somebody that you would have some interest in this season?
Is the Angels pitching staff on here?
He's actually really good. Soriano's got a 2.8 this year. Overall, over the last few seasons, he's been around a 3.5 to a 4 ERA. Legit middle of the rotation starter. He's got 2 more years of club control beyond this season as well. Is that somebody that would be of interest to you, T-Bone?
I have interest in him, but again, I don't know that it's the prospect haul that I'm going to be willing to give up for.
All right, next one up, Sandy Alcantara.
So then you're not interested.
Another year of club control, technically, club option for $20 million next year. He has not been great this season. He's been more of an innings eater than a legit, front end of the rotation starter. The name doesn't exactly match what I think the cost is potentially going to be. Is that a guy that you guys would have interest in, though?
Do you think this is going to require a haul? Because he has struggled and you only got 1 year left.
I honestly don't know.
If he's not a haul, then I'm interested in this because of the trust that I have now in this pitching staff to kind of look at it and say, yeah, we can kind of fine-tune this thing. I would be interested because of the track record of Sandy, and I know he hasn't been the same because of his injuries that he's dealt with. This would be one that if I'm not talking about my best player in my pipeline, this was one that I'd look at and say, yeah, and he's back here again next year, and if you could get it right, you got 2 years of it.
Yeah, I have no interest in Alcantara. I just don't think he's going to get back to the guy he was pre-Tommy John. So I don't think it would cost a lot. Would he be an upgrade? Yeah, but I think he would be closer to a 3 than he is a 2, and I think you need a legitimate 2 in this
I think
rotation.
he's an upgrade over at least 3 guys in your rotation. Libby, Leahy, and I'd say he's an upgrade over Pallante.
I think he's just a slightly better version of Pallante, most likely.
That's kind of
They're pretty similar.
That's where I'm like, he's more closer to that than he is a 2.
But if I can unlock something, which I put the trust in these guys.
I do wonder what he would look like here in this ballpark and in front of this defense. Yeah. He's a ground ball machine, and this infield has proven that they've been able to sustain just improving pitchers. Their ERAs look better here than they would potentially elsewhere because of the fielding behind them. So I think you probably would get the best version of Sandy Alcantara. I do wonder what you'd have to give up for him. I think it would be pretty significant because I think there's going to be a lot of teams interested in him based on his pedigree and honestly the innings that he can provide. So I don't think I would be willing to give up the cost, the capital that it would require.
This right now is the one that I'd be the most likely to trade as long as it's not a extremely steep price. Because I think the other thing is if he's an innings eater, it benefits your team. If you can make it competitive with good defense and in your ballpark and he's an innings eater, that's less of your bullpen, which to me is your biggest liability.
Ready for the one that T-Bone's going to love? Freddie Peralta coming in at number 11 on this list, 90% chance of being traded. Now, the Mets are highly incentivized to deal him because they would not get that second-round comp pick that we've talked about for the Cardinals with a QO. They would get a fourth-round comp pick for Freddie Peralta if they decide to keep him and QO him. I don't think they're going to extend him. He's been fine this year, but not great. Is this somebody that you would trade for as an expiring contract, Freddie Peralta? I
I'm interested, but this is going to be a haul as well, I think, because he's not only pitching well now, but he's been pitching well for the last few seasons. I don't think I would be willing to pay the price to get Freddie Peralta.
See, I would be willing to trade for Peralta. Now, I don't think he's going to cost as much because he's not pitching as well. He's a pending free agent. As we've seen, guys like this just don't end up getting a lot in return. I mean, look at Merrill Kelly. He's an example of this. I think you can get him for less than you're expecting, and I would have interest. He's having a down year. Probably wouldn't extend him. This would probably just be a rental for the playoffs, but I think he would significantly help your rotation.
I'd be interested. It would just come down to the price. And if the price is going to be exorbitant, if it gets priced up relative to what we're expecting, I don't think I would be able or willing to match it. Okay, last few that I wanted to get to here before we get to more likely to happen on the other side. I think this is the lane that the Cardinals will actually potentially be shopping in.
I love these lanes.
Casey Mize, 29-year-old former top prospect, starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. They are almost certain to be sellers this season. He's having a really good year, and he was pretty darn good for them last year as well. He is an expiring contract. He has dealt with some injury issues this year, but they're not arm-related. They're groin-related. So I think he would be the kind of guy that I would definitely have some interest in. Real strikeout stuff there as well. Michael Wacha and Seth Lugo are also interesting to me, both of whom have some club control remaining. Wacha this season for the Royals has a 3.6 ERA. Lugo is a classic Cardinals type of pitcher, 3.8 ERA. He was the former reliever who's converted back into the rotation now. Not great strikeout stuff, but throws the kitchen sink. He's on the IL right now, but I think he's going to be fine. So those would be the three guys that I think are maybe, of the names that we've listed, the most likely trade candidates for the Cardinals. Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha, Casey Mize.
And I think that's where I would be shopping as well. They're not going to cost you a lot. They fill right in for you. They're not this high-end pitcher, but if Dustin May continues this, I don't even think you need that. I just think you need somebody who could be someone you feel comfortable with starting a second or a third game. I personally like the Michael Wacha front, and the guy has just changed his perspective. We all know how St. Louis feels about former Cardinal players. That would be the one that I would be targeting, but any of those three make a lot more sense for the Cardinals than the ones we listed prior.
Yeah, so I really like Casey Mize. I think that one's very interesting as a rental type option. I don't think he'd cost a ton. I've got interest in him. Lugo's interesting without taking a look at his under the hood metrics. I don't have much interest in Wacha. You know, the strikeout stuff's not as high. It started to diminish. I understand he's got the changeup.
I don't get your lack of interest in Michael Wacha. He's had a 3.5 ERA for 5 consecutive seasons.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I look at him. I don't know what it is. I don't think I think he would be a 3. And I think if you needed
That's
a 3,
what you need.
No, they need a 2. That's what they need.
You got a 2.
I mean, what qualifies as a 2? He's had a 3.5 ERA for 5 years running.
Yeah, but I think to be a 2 with that kind of ERA, you also got to have swing and miss, and he didn't have it anymore.
Unbelievable,
at this point in his
Tanner.
Lugo, I also am out on. I peeked under the hood, and Mize would be the one I'd have interest in. Out of those three, I'd much rather have Casey Mize than
And I think the
Royals
cost
guys.
is going to be the lowest for Casey Mize as well. He's an expiring deal. I don't think he's going to get some crazy contract in free agency, so the QO wasn't as valuable for him. Maybe they just decided to QO him and keep him on a $20 million deal. But I think Casey Mize, if you're looking right now, who's the guy that the Cardinals trade for at this year's deadline if they upgrade? I think Casey Mize is the most likely answer.
I would say Wacha.
I get it. Coming up next, more likely to happen here on 101 ESPN. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for more likely to happen. You guys give us a scenario. We will tell you which one is more likely here on 101 ESPN. All right, let's start out with this one. Alex, more likely to happen. Lars Nootbaar is in the outfield next year with the Cardinals, or Joshua Baez is in the outfield for the Cardinals at some point in the next 30 days. So Newt is still here next year.
Oh, man.
Baez is here at some point in the next 30 days.
I'll say Newt is still here next year because the Cardinals will think they can make Baez a center fielder. And Church becomes your fourth outfielder, and they've moved on from Victor Scott, or he just stays in the minors.
I'm not sure I really believe this, but I'll say that Baez ends up being here in 30 days. Because I'm not sure I see a spot where Newt's here next year. Now, I can see a spot where he's here post-deadline, because I'm on your side on that one of, hey, man, this guy a good piece here in a playoff race. You probably hang on to him and see what you can do, and then maybe look to move him in the offseason. So that's why I would say it's Baez here in the next 30 days.
Yeah, I'm going Newt. I think Newt's back next year, and that's more likely than Baez. I would also say this. I do think that Nootbaar could be the kind of piece that maybe gets you one of those Royals pitchers. Mm-hmm. And could you trade Newt plus a prospect for Michael Wacha? I could see something like that making sense for both teams. Alex?
All right, guys, since Kerbs, went down his rabbit hole for us and talked about Jake DeBrusk, more likely to happen, the Blues adding a veteran presence to the roster at the wing, or at the forward position, or the defenseman?
Forward. I think they're more likely to add one of those veteran presences as a forward.
Yeah, that's where I would be. I would say forward, because I think defense, like if you don't move Parayko, I don't see them making a move on defense. I think they're going to have to add to the forward group. Center, winger, whichever one they decide to do. They go Kerb's path, they go what we've talked about all offseason. I see it more likely that they're going to go that way.
Yeah, I'm there as well. I think it makes sense to get a guy who's got some veteran presence on the wing for how much youth you're going to have. You have to send out multiple pieces, in my opinion, before you bring that guy in, and I don't know if you can afford to do that.
Guys, more likely to happen, the Cardinals trade for someone with control, or they stand pat at this year's deadline?
Stand pat.
I don't.
That's a good question.
Walker's got control, right?
He does. He has another year.
I'd say control, because I think if you're going to go out there and invest in the team, you're going to look for something that's here beyond this year. Now, multiple years of control, that one I'd be skeptical of. But a year of control, I could see it.
I'd like to take mine back. Another year of control. I don't think they're going to stand pat this year.
No takesies, backsies.
After 10 seconds of thought, I regret my answer. T-Bone?
I would say I think they would go after someone with control, someone that can be here for next year as well. What if I said more likely to happen, they trade for a rental or they sell at the deadline?
Trade for a rental.
Trade for a rental.
I don't think this team's selling.
I don't think they are either, but the more I hear Chaim talk about the future and the future and the future, it does make me still have that intrusive thought of, this guy would do it, wouldn't he?
No. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. You give us two scenarios. We'll tell you which one's more likely. More likely to happen. Blues make 3 first-round picks, or they trade 3 players currently on the roster?
3 first-round picks.
I agree.
I don't know the 3 players you're trading off of this roster.
Sweep it.
More likely to happen. The Blues offer sheet someone this summer, Take 2. The Blues offer sheet someone this summer, or the Cardinals extend somebody currently on the roster?
Cardinals extend somebody on the roster.
Agreed.
As much as it makes sense for Dallas, I don't think the Blues are going to do it.
Yeah, I would say it's the Cardinals extend someone. They've got 2 candidates. There's one real offer sheet candidate?
All this Fantilli and Leo Carlson talk, guys, that's not happening. Those teams have plenty of cap space to not let their number 1 center go.
Agreed. From the 314, this will be a last one. More likely to come out of the rotation if the Cardinals were to add a starter, Libby or Leahy?
Leahy.
I lean Leahy, but man, Libby would be an upgrade over Brule.
Then you can shoot Brule to the moon, right, T-Bone?
Yeah, because right now, if you didn't add a right-handed arm to the bullpen, and Leahy would eventually get there by the playoffs, I don't actually think you're in a bad spot with your right-handers. Lefties, you could really use somebody else to help JoJo, and if JoJo continues to struggle, then you need someone to help JoJo out as well.
Yeah, I'd go Leahy into the bullpen. I think he can get righties or lefties out. So I would have no issues with him going into the pen and upgrading you there. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. You've got BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. Hey, by the way, coming up on Friday, something really cool. TMA, along with our radio friends at all 5 Hubbard radio stations, are set to team up with fill a truck for Operation Food Search. With the support from Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and the Happy Roof Company, you can stop by the station on Friday morning because TMA will be heading downstairs. They're going to be broadcasting live out front in the parking lot. I think this is from 7 to 10. The copy that I have here says 7 to 11. I'm pretty sure it's 7 to 10, so be sure to show up early if you can. Collecting canned foods and non-perishable food items. We'll be handing out donuts from Donut Drive-In. I think they said it's 30 dozen donuts.
Oh, my God, and it's the best
while
donut
those
places.
supplies last. And everyone who stops by will have a chance to enter to win a $500 grand prize. So come on by Friday, 7 to 11 or 7 to 10 with TMA and 101 ESPN in front of Hubbard Radio. Coming up next, Sportsnet had multiple Blues involved in their off-season bold predictions column. We'll tell you who they were and where they were going next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Cardinals currently in action trying to sweep the San Diego Padres. They trail 1-0 in the top of the second inning. Kyle Leahy on the mound for St. Louis. We'll keep you updated on the Cardinals score throughout the day today here on 101 ESPN. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
With Alex and T-Bone on BK. If you guys have missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page, 101ESPN.com, and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
While you're there, you'll be able to find our conversation with Chris Kerber, in which he may or may not have suggested that a player from St. Louis return for the St. Louis Blues this offseason. Spoiler alert, very much not. He also talked specifically about one winger that he thinks makes a lot of sense for the Blues. You can find that on the podcast page. Also, hear our discussion about Joshua Baez. 4 home runs last night. Is he the kind of guy that you would consider moving at his peak value? I would. These guys very much would not. Full explanations on the podcast page after the show today. Also over on youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. That is where you can find later this afternoon the latest edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast, which should be posted again later this afternoon. Okay, Alex, on Sportsnet, they had bold predictions for the offseason. 2 of them included your St. Louis Blues. One was with Jordan Binnington. The other was with Jordan Kyrou. Which of those would you like to start with, Kyrou or Binner?
Let's start with Kyrou.
Okay. Bold prediction. Ottawa trades for Jordan Kyrou. Quote, there's risk here, but Kyrou is in his prime age at age 28. He has 3 30-goal seasons and a 70-point season in his past. He's a Toronto native. Kyrou does have full no-trade protection, but he's signed through 2031, and he'd give Ottawa some roster security. In the immediate future, he'd have the scoring upside that they need on the wing, and in the long term, he would provide shelter in case it ever does get to a point next year where Brady Tkachuk formally asks for a trade.
I think this is the hockey trade for your center position. I don't know if Kyrou agrees to a trade. Bruce Garrioch said that he doesn't believe Kyrou would accept to trade to Ottawa, and I'll go off of a guy who reports for the Ottawa Senators. But if that's true, that Ottawa would make sense for the Blues and Jordan Kyrou, it's a deal that's perfectly made for him, because then you try and acquire one of Shane Pinto or Dylan Cousins. Both are the same age, both are right shot defensemen, and both are about 7.1 to 7.5 mil for the same amount of years as Jordan Kyrou, and both deals only turn into a modified no trade clause. So to me, that's how you upgrade your center position, by trading a guy that is a winger to provide offense for Ottawa and a center to provide that position for the Blues. That's one of those win-win trades.
Gut check. We've got 2 weeks left before the NHL free agency begins on July 1st. What do you think are the odds that Jordan Kyrou's traded this offseason?
Pre-draft, I'd put it at like 60%. Post-draft, I'd put it at like 25%.
Just overall, this offseason, before opening night, what are the odds that Jordan Kyrou's traded?
I'd put it at about 65% chance.
I'd go 60-40. Yeah, 60's traded, 40's not.
I think it's a legit 50-50 proposition. Yeah. I think so much of this is determined by where's Kyrou willing to go. Because if he's already saying not going to Seattle, not going to Ottawa, that's been the early reporting, we don't know. But if that's true, man, that takes away 2 of the prime candidates to potentially trade for Jordan Kyrou, and eventually you're just going to start crossing off too many of the teams that have the ammo to be able to move for him, and at that point you just say, you know what, we'll run it back with him.
Yeah, and I think once you get to free agency is when teams start calling less, because they look at the market, and then once the market settles, then they come back to the table, but then I think it gets harder to make trades, because the Blues don't want draft picks in that scenario.
Exactly.
They want players, and teams are less likely to do it once free agency ends.
All right, the other one is Jordan Binnington. Sportsnet has Benner as a trade candidate for the Florida Panthers. What would it take? Well, Florida has the 9th overall pick to potentially use in a deal. They also have a 23-year-old forward and a 2021 first-round pick who could be of interest to a team that's tinkering as well. But what makes sense in a goalie trade, a position that historically doesn't pull back great return, especially one in which Binnington, who's going into his final season on his contract, what would be the deal? We predict something can be found, and Binnington goes to Florida with Joel Hofer taking over in St. Louis.
I think the only way that happens is if the 9th overall pick is coming back in return.
And I can't imagine they're giving up that much for Jordan Binnington.
Not just for Binnington, and that's why I just don't see it happening. I think the Blues set the price high, and they're not going to give that up. And I said this on the podcast. We don't have enough time to get into it today, but check it out later on this afternoon. I would say there's a better chance that Jordan Binnington finishes his career as a St. Louis Blue versus playing for another team this coming season, because teams need 2 goalies. And if I'm Jordan Binnington, I'm 32 years old. I'm going to be 33 when I get a new contract. And it's not a guarantee that I'm losing a starting opportunity, because David Alexander is very cautious with how he works these goalies. There's a spot that you stay in St. Louis, you're still potentially starting 35 to 40 games.
The player that they were referencing here is Maki Simasevich.
Yeah, and he's a winger, which to me doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't think
5'11", so he's also small.
Yeah.
So, that's just not the kind of thing that I think the Blues are going to be looking for in a return.
9th overall pick, if that's what it is, then I think they do that in a heartbeat, because now I got 9, 11, and 15. That's how you can move even higher up in the draft if you wanted to. But no, I don't see that happening.
I could see how the Blues convince themselves the best thing to do this offseason is to move on from Jordan Binnington. I just don't know where you're getting a good return.
You're not.
And that's where it gets tough to me, is if you're moving on from him just to do so, this isn't a team that's cap strapped, I know Kerb said earlier today, this is a team that could use some cap relief, I guess, but what are they doing with it other than just not spending as much money this year? And I haven't known this ownership group to be one that's like, we can't spend the money. I think they're fine right now with where they're at.
And the only guys that are really going to be due raises soon is, what does Snuggerud do this upcoming season? What does Jake Neighbors do this upcoming season? Other than that, who's the guy that you're worried about not being able to re-sign?
And that's for next year.
Yeah. And by then,
that's not right now. And that's when you've got a UFA situation, UFA situation for Benner, so he doesn't play into those conversations.
By then, Torrey Krug's contract is officially off the book, so you're not paying, as an organization, paying that $6.5 million. So I don't see a cap being a problem for this Blues team. I just think right now you got to get more talent that can help in certain areas.
Do you think it's more likely that either Jordan Binnington or Jordan Kyrou, neither Jordan Binnington nor Jordan Kyrou, or both Jordan Binnington and Jordan Kyrou are traded this offseason?
There's a lot of words in there.
It's a game of either, neither, or both.
Oh, God. We can't add more games to this week's show. I would say either.
One of them?
One of them. Because my guess is if somebody's moved, it's Kyrou. That's the only guy I can see them really aggressively trying to move. The Parayko conversation, I don't think they're trying to move that anymore. I think they view this as, we can be competitive. We've got to make some upgrades, and we need some change of scenery. And I don't think Binnington goes unless it's a crazy price. Kyrou's the one that I think they're saying, we can get something for it now. Let's do so.
I would say it's Kyrou, and that would be the only one that I could see them moving. Yeah. Look, the game was confusing.
Either, neither, and nor.
Either, neither, or both.
Oh, yeah. That's better than nor. Nor works. It's just as hard to do that.
Pretty common game,
Why don't we just ask, do you think Kyrou will be traded, or Binnington will be traded, or both?
Or neither.
Or neither.
Which is literally what I asked.
Yeah.
Either, neither, or both.
The
rewind is next. You're 101 ESPN.
Hey, join me this Thursday night with Michelob Ultra at the Mexican STL for Mexico versus South Korea. Me and the 101 crew and Mick Ultra will be on site with 101 ESPN and Ultra giveaways starting at 6, leading up to kickoff of Mexico versus South Korea at 8. Mick Ultra is a superior light beer and the official beer sponsor of the FIFA World Cup 26. So be sure to enjoy an Ultra as you cheer on your favorite team. This Thursday, starting at 6 with me and Michelob Ultra at the Mexican STL, 9615 Watson Road in Sappington, leading up to Mexico versus South Korea at 8. All the details at 101ESPN.com.
Cardinals down 1-0, top of the third inning against the San Diego Padres. Final game of this series. Cardinals looking to get the sweep. They've got their entire bullpen available for them today, so we'll be certainly paying attention to that. Breaking it all down for you guys tomorrow here on BK and Ferrario. Again, the Last Minute Blues podcast should be posted at some point later on this afternoon. Tomorrow, we will have a new edition of the Redbird Report. You can find all of that on YouTube at youtube.com/101ESPN-STL. T-Bone, on the World Cup side of things, at this point, we could say it's weird, right?
No.
Portugal in a 1-1 tie against the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Yeah, a bit weird.
90th minute right now?
I think everybody's playing
Stack
for points.
the box, guys. Don't lose.
I can't believe they scored a goal.
I guess everybody's looking not to lose right now.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. That's the lesson from them expanding the World Cup. That's what teams are going with now.
Yeah, don't lose.
Make sure you get that point. Now, I don't know how much that's actually going to help you because your goal differential is 0 right now. So if you lose in game 2, you're really behind the 8 ball.
Later on this afternoon, it is England versus Croatia. That actually should be a really good game. Croatia has finished like at top 5 each of the last couple of World Cups, I do believe, and they're top 15 right now in the world's rankings. You also have Ghana versus Panama at 6, and then Uzbekistan versus Colombia at 9 o'clock tonight.
Ferrario will be texting about it in the group chat tonight.
I'll be up wide awake for it. Uzbekistan.
Looking forward to those.
Borat told you how you should feel about Uzbekistan, so go watch the movie.
All right. He's Alex Ferrario.
T-Bone's never seen
That's
Borat.
Tanner Hendrickson, and I'm Brandon Kiley. As I mentioned, you can find our podcast on the podcast page after the show today. 101ESPN.com and the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. That's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That 101 ESPN app is sponsored by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. We'll have a full breakdown for you tomorrow on the Cardinals game against the Padres. Fingers crossed that they're able to come back in this one. The offense has certainly done plenty lately to inspire you today. For Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We'll talk to you tomorrow. The Fast Lane's next here on 101 ESPN.